Welcome to Talk of the Tavern. A little about us, we're your at-home interactive weekly geek con, all blended with wit, sarcasm, and a pub-like atmosphere. We're adults talking about adult topics and using adult language. We laugh and make jokes about almost everything. We don't intend to upset, but some folks have their feelings hurt easily. This is all done in humor in the style of the great offenders such as George Carlin, Red Fox, Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor, Robin Williams, Wanda Sykes, Sam Kinison, George Lopez, Lisa Lampanelli, Chris Rock, and others. So grab your vice of choice, sit back, relax, and get ready to enjoy yourself in the company of great people, hot toddies, and guests alike, because here we come.
Put that long day behind you. Good times lie ahead. With company worth keeping, that'll bash a smile on your head. Come on in, the door's open. You'll find just the finest folks here. Pull up a chair, grab a drink, and lend our stories your ear. Cause we're the talk of the tavern. Here you're always welcome. The talk of the tavern. Promising beer and bed love. The talk of the tavern. Music, medicine, then some. The talk of the tavern. The song's over. Here we come.
And welcome to Monday. I have an echo.
Echo.
I do. I think it's just...
I was on mute.
Anyhow, welcome to Monday, the 4th episode of Talk of the Tavern, Philosopher's Pub, where we're going to talk about positive. We lost an Elizabeth. What happened?
Woosah.
Oh, right. Positive and energy negative. What's everybody drinking tonight? Let's start with Elizabeth tonight.
Well, hello from New York. It's been a heck of a weekend and a heck of a time. Today my vice is wild berry zinger tea with, yes, a touch of honey. And who knows what'll happen in the dark hour.
You're Okay, and then let's move over to the second most beautiful woman in the room. Kevin, what do you got?
This evening I'm on the black coffee because it's been an incredibly exhausting week for me, and so this will be what will be keeping me going to the end of the show.
Very nice. Do you take it with cream and sugar, or do you just take it?
No, black and strong,
Yeah.
just like my co-hosts.
Like my soul.
Are you talking to me?
We are. What do you got, Ed?
I'm drinking, let's see, Woodford Reserve, batch proof, Masters Collection, something or another special shit, but it's good.
Where'd all the whiskey behind you go? They're missing.
I put it back on the bar.
Oh, out of reach? That's horrible. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, one bottle at a time.
Speaking of something you can only take one at a time, Andrea, what do you got?
Water. I'm trying to drink more water.
Yeah,
and of course, coffee.
Oh,
Go listen to his sarcasm.
what the hell?
I was watching the porn. Hit mute.
No. Well, Skipper suddenly popped back up on my screen.
Okay, I'm trying to get rid of him on my screen as well. It's like, dude, go away.
There he is.
Okay, I got us now.
What happened?
That was weird.
Yeah.
I had to refresh the page, so all of a sudden I've lost all the chat. I saw Dez was drinking something. I didn't see what anybody else had because I hadn't flipped back to that screen yet. I'm so sorry, guys, that I can't read what you have. Andrew, what else you got besides water? Is water all you're doing tonight?
Oh, coffee. Of course, coffee.
Any cigars or anything for later?
Maybe. We'll see in the second hour.
Let us know. Oh, Dez, thank you, man. Appreciate it. And I'm the host. I'm Travis, and I just dropped my coaster. I have water tonight.
I don't see us on this channel.
I do. Did you refresh?
We're there.
It took a second.
Now I'm frozen.
No.
It took a while.
Wow.
What's
is this
going on
just like the
today?
past week for
Oh,
everybody?
look at us!
I'm starting out stiff at least.
There you are.
And I am smoking Dunhill 965. I'm going to start out in a Mr. Bork poker.
Bork.
You see the thing I put in VIP earlier? The beaker meme?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. We had to refresh, so we didn't see what your vices are.
Oh, that was 309.
You can post them again.
You can't. Tell us again.
Huh?
Des, what were you?
Tell us
You had
again.
like licorice and Fibrosi. Oh, wait. Fiore set and drinking water. What is taking Fiore set? Is that a medication or is that an exotic flower?
Yes.
I don't know. I'm pretty med free, so I'm clueless. Oh, look at that. Dev just took the lead for the bit tosser of the month.
Yeah, you did.
Well, it's a new month, so it's reset.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
So everybody whip out your bits and take the lead while you can.
Hey, there's like new cheer emoji thingies.
Oh, cool.
Emoji thingy. Tell us more.
We have new emotes for Talk of the Tavern. For the different subscription levels. So the lowest one gets the Talk of the Tavern sign. The next one I think is the Brandy Glass, and the one after that is the Mustache. And then Andrea, you just found the Pride ones for this month that Twitch has put in. So this will probably be the only time we mention it this month. Happy Pride Month, guys. The bottom line is we don't pay a lot of attention to it because you're all just fucking people to us and we love you anyway, not because of a social identity. So there you go. We're supportive, but not in a sense of, oh, there's Vignarn in chat. Le Chat. Hello, good to see you.
Vignarn Le Chat. Vignarn the cat.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, kitty.
Yeah, that's my kid. So.
Yeah, I'm lighting up. Ed.
Yo.
I think you probably had the best weekend out of the bunch of us. Why don't you tell us what you were doing?
I went camping in the middle of a rainstorm and flash flood warnings along the Shenandoah River. It was great.
We say we like Ed. We've never said he's terribly bright.
Seriously, the spot we were camped on, the river would have had to crest to like 20 feet before we would even been close to being in danger. The river did crest at 16 feet.
Oh.
On Sunday, yesterday, and every place turned into a muddy mess. The lower campground totally flooded. The river was running through it. They came up to us. They told us what was going on. There's like, the road's getting ready to wash out. I was like, okay, we're going to get the fuck out of here. We packed up. Just as we packed the last item in the truck, they pulled up again and said, you're stuck. The road has washed out. So you can move to an electric site if you want to, or you can have a cabin. It's like, I'm not unpacking this shit. We'll take a cabin. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's that place that knows you really well anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been camping there very regularly over the last 10 years, so they're very good to us, and yeah.
Now, was it you, or did you have a usual group of people?
The only other person that showed up was my goddaughter, well, people, her husband, and their children. They were the only ones that showed up. Everybody else bailed out on us. And
I had to work.
We literally chased them out at 9:30 yesterday morning. It was like, get the fuck out of here. So, yeah.
Makes sense. I'll read a few comments, and I want to hear about Elizabeth this weekend because she had excitement. Ian said, good evening, all.
Oh, hey, Ian.
That question. And Lady Skipper says, Mountain Dew and Pizza, it's National Cheese Day. Well,
It's Cheese Day.
Be good for Jamin's sense of humor.
Cheese, grommet.
Friday was National Donut Day.
Cracky bit of Wednesday, Dale Grommet.
So, just so you guys know, you've seen the refill break videos. And you've seen the one with just Elizabeth. And we do have others coming. I'm just waiting until I get 5 minutes worth of content before I make a video. But Elizabeth is our video fiend, and she sends us all kinds of extra videos. This weekend, there was a ton from like Times Square at night. I should say over the past week or so. But so what adventures were you having, Elizabeth?
I had a crazy week. I have a producer friend, so I get to go see all sorts of neat things for free and for fun. On Tuesday night, I saw Solo at a Producers Guild screening. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Boycotting the whole franchise over?
No, because films pay families and kids go to colleges. No, just, I mean, if they wanted, I don't know, to boycott something before you've even seen it, How about seeing it and then boycotting? I don't know. I'm not. You people get to choose what they're gonna do. I don't know.
I can't boycott it if I go see it.
If you don't like it, make your own. Make it better. Tuesday night, that was my Tuesday night. Wednesday night, I went and saw this singer. Her name's Aurora.
Mm-hmm.
She is Norwegian. She is an elf. She is an elf making magic on the stage. Her hair is golden white. She's paler than I am, and she's just amazing. And she hit it off with the crowd because she talks a lot in between songs, and she'll say she loves Avatar, the animated series. She had a little green, like earth-bending vest on. It was cool, and it was a lot of fun. It's just amazing. And that's the night Pickle Man got us a free table. Yeah,
I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very important pickle. Very good.
And then we saw. Oh God, how did I put Times Square? I can't. Oh, see the week's been a blur. We got tickets to Othello at Shakespeare in the Park.
Oh, cool.
And I'm exhausted by this point, and it's Friday night, and I have to go to work early Saturday, and we went anyway because you're in New York. What else are you going to do? And that's during the week. That's when that strange crackhead tried to molest me in Times Square while I was making a video for our fans.
So that'll be another future upcoming.
An amazing video it was.
But Shakespeare in the Park was lovely. It's always fun to get out there, and it's free. You just have to stand in line to get tickets.
I just
and
love
it's
the
been
fact
that way.
you said, I'm in New York. What else are you going to do? Because, like, New York being such a teeny little place, there's nothing else to do but go see Shakespeare in New York.
Oh, I just wanted to go home and go to sleep, but my friend won tickets. You got to go. I mean, you live in New York. Nothing is free. So, so I've been drinking. And then Saturday, I worked a pop-up film school. So I taught about 100 people green screening techniques, talking nonstop. And then Sunday, Gay Pride in Queens, baby.
Hi, Bob.
Can we green screen that curtain behind Kevin? We should learn how to do
Hi,
that.
Bob.
Yeah.
That's right. So Kevin could be like at Shakespeare in the Park or something.
Yeah, absolutely. He could be anywhere he wanted.
And hey, Bob.
That's for your
What up, Bob?
information.
Hi, Toey.
It's just a coffee.
Joey.
Joey.
We're doing Shakespeare. And there's John.
Hey,
John.
John.
Good to see you.
Hey, John.
Put him in a boat. I showed my son this weekend a series of Lonely Island videos, including I'm on a boat. So that was.
They're the ones that do Dick in a Box, right?
That's what we started with. He's 15. He needs to see Dick in a Box. I'm a good
Yeah,
dad.
you do.
Mm.
Really, I am.
Look, Bob's trying to make it up to you there, Ed. He said Wakanda rules. It's Wakanda forever. What's wrong with you?
Oh,
What kind of 0.04% black man are you?
Yeah. Take away his brother card.
You could take away half it, then he just has a bro card.
oh my goodness.
Hey, Andrea, do you want to vent about your weekend working, lugging stuff around?
Oh.
No?
Oh, whatever. I get paid for it. I don't work very often at Lowe's. But this weekend, half the store called out yesterday because of flooding. Bridges washed out. Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
But Saturday when I went...
Go ahead. Go on.
I was going to say Saturday when I went to work, wasn't there a couple hours, and the manager comes up to me asking me all these questions. I'm like, what did I do? Like, a customer called in to compliment you. So I'm getting like something. Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, they get some amazing rewards for customers calling in, like maybe a pin and a Coca-Cola. It's incredible.
Maybe we should all call in on different days and thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want to tell you, Elizabeth, because I tell the coworkers, some of them, so yeah, we do these. There are these videos, and I showed one of my coworkers the video that we did in Lowe's with the chainsaws and you running through the aisle with the axe. She was laughing so hard she was crying. It was great.
Yeah.
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 And
Next time we'll have to do where I'm chasing you. That'll be funny.
All right.
we'll have to get her while she's at work, Elizabeth, with her vest on, and you could be chasing me, and I'm screaming, and she could just step in front of the camera and go, "Stop it!" We'd be, sorry. Let's see, what do we got here? Des says, I'm a lowlander, didn't have to deal with any flooding. Good for you, man. We just got a soggy lawn here. Not much complaining.
Yeah.
I do want to throw a quick thank you to Dave Moeller, Tara's husband,
Oh my God.
who came out Friday with his chainsaw and put in like an 8+ hour work day in my fucking yard with his chainsaw, taking down those fallen trees into bits.
Wow.
And it's-
Outstanding.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
incredible how hard he worked, and he did the bear share, and he fixed my mower, which apparently was an easy fix. I didn't know.
Really?
Yeah, so I got to mow my lawn, and I had to mow it twice because it was 3+ feet high. So I went over at the highest level, 8 inches, and then went back down at 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Anybody else say anything? Bob says he can't take the card away. It's in his blood. Stop eating your cards, Bob. That's disgusting. Kevin
When we get off air, you need to tell me what he did to it, because I'm curious.
did too.
Your mower, not.
Oh, no, he basically just laid down, and there's tensioners, so you just pull it, and the pulleys come in, and then you wrap it around, and you let it go. You're done.
That's it.
You guys see what Bob just did with the bits as well? He's just taken over Des by one bit.
But one bit.
It's on tonight.
Wait till Kevin
Shots
goes.
fired. Yeah.
I don't blame you, Dave. I get it. Were you umming, Andrea?
I was going to say, if anybody follows me on Instagram, you can see the videos of all the hummingbirds yesterday. And I only recorded a bit of one of the feeders, and there was like 10 of them there, but they were all over the porch.
I did.
Like
Nice.
little,
I took videos for the refill breaks where it's all them buzzing around, stopping at the feeders, and I'm like, look who's getting toasted at Talk of the Tavern.
Mm.
So,
yeah, they are.
and last but not least, Kevin, how'd your week go, man? Any more fires in the
Yeah. No, the guy who caused the fire quit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Good.
The,
Glad to hear it.
the day before half term started here, because it's been the school holidays this week just gone. Yeah, and then one of our fryers broke down. It's basically been the stereotypical week from hell, really. Short-staffed, equipment breaking, horrendously huge crowds, baking hot weather, which in Britain is probably like 50 degrees cooler than you're used to or something. But all the British people are laying around perspiring like overheating Labradors, crawling for shade.
Hey,
Yeah, it's been great. It's been wonderful. I'm a bag full of laughs this week.
hey, Kennedy.
Kennedy, he filmed us a good video of Beaver and Broad. So, yeah, we got Kennedy on Beaver and Broad. So, smart. That's smart. Oh, and as for me, I just hung around the house and did my usual stuff, worked on this and that. So, shall we just go ahead and get to the topic? It's 20 after.
Sure.
Alrighty.
Oh, Des says, Kevin, it was 37.7 Celsius with the heat index the other day.
Nice.
Oh, Kennedy got his Buffalo coin also. Oh, do we have are we doing trivia? Are we doing or you want to put it off this week and do it next week? From that look, I don't think we're having a contest this week.
I can get one. It's a.
We'll do it next week. It'll stretch it out longer. It's
Ow.
so
Mm-hmm.
Positive energy.
energy, positive and
It's
negative.
not going to help if you're coming up short.
You can stretch it out.
Oh my goodness.
So a few weeks ago, it was right after the planning session, actually, we have a private Facebook group chat between the 5 of us, and we got to discussing if positive energy influences this or that, as well as gun laws. It was kind of a blended conversation. It was fun. And Ed missed most of it, and he's like, we need to do a show on this. So I scheduled it in. So here we are, and we're going to discuss. And by the way, I want to say up front and let anybody argue if they want to. I am putting positive energy in the same basket as prayer, as spell work, if that's your religion, as good luck, if you just believe in that, etc., etc. Is anybody not comfortable with that concept that they're all similar things?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day,
I'm
it's
offended.
Like
No, I'm just kidding.
You're welcome.
I got a safe space right here. I think it's a bit like people from different religious views, isn't it? Essentially, you're talking about the same kind of core structure, core beliefs. It's just different ways of interpreting the same thing. That's what we're saying.
Elizabeth, are you comfortable with the concept?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. You sure? That was a very sweet answer.
Well, I know I'm right. So
That's cool too. That's fine.
No, we want to have a conversation. Let's have this conversation, That's why we're here. And to drink.
There we go. Yeah, those two things. Let's see. Some comments. Des is offended that you're offended. John says, my karma says, fuck that. Toey says, I don't think they're the same, but that's okay. Ian says, we're not feeding our Hummers this year. Buggers have got it too aggressive. They are getting aggressive.
Yeah, territorial, baby.
And Bob is being Bob.
But you can flick them. They're so tiny.
So,
Bob.
Bob, throw out more positive energy, Bubba, and it may happen.
I'll tell you what I'd like to aim for with positive energy is the growth of the show. I'll enjoy it so much.
And there is a way to do that. You want to tell them how to right now, even though you will for the break?
You could do it right now. Actually, this is a great time to do it. If you guys look just below the video screen, you're going to see a share button.
Look down.
Yeah,
Go down.
And if you click on it, it brings up a series of icons for Twitter and Facebook and a few other places. And if you just choose your favorite, I'm going to choose Twitter right now. It brings up a new screen. And I'm just going to type live. Join us now. And this is what I'm asking all of you guys to do. Invite your friends in, to bring them in so we can all hang out, have a good time. Share the show to help the growth. Bring your friends in, have a good time with them. You guys can just go up by 5-point increments. Everybody enjoys a nice Hummer. They're a gas guzzler, but nice vehicle. Anyhow, so positive energy versus negative energy. What do you think? Is there magic in the world, or is it just perspective of, when you have a positive attitude, you notice positive things?
It could be that too, and I know just kind of like if you buy a red car, you notice all the red cars on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you see the positive, then more positive will happen. So, or you'll notice it more.
It's true, and it's true as much in the opposite direction as well, in the sense that it's easy to get trapped into a spiral of negative energy where something pisses you off and then you deal with the next situation and that much more pissed off mindset, that generates more bad feeling, and it can feed on itself. You can get that same reaction going the other way. You're right. If you get a shitty situation and you deal with it by going, fuck it, let's find the one thing in this that I can focus on that's right about it, and hone in on that, I can keep a positive mindset and deal with the rest of the shit as fallout. I have to do it on a daily basis in my job. In fact, sometimes on a minute-by-minute basis, depending on how pissed off the customers are. But
do you have a good example?
What, of having to do it at work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you a good example of the difference it can make sometimes that happened in a negative way just yesterday. And I pray to God he's not watching this show ever. We got a relief manager in for this week, Not the last week. He's just been in for a couple of days now. Our manageress, Hyvika's, finally, for the first time in a year since she came to work at the pub, taken a week's holiday and gone home to Estonia, where she's from. So this new guy is coming to cover for the week, and he dealt with a complaint by some customers yesterday who weren't happy with a couple of the meals on a table of, I think, 11 or 12 people. And it wasn't a huge major thing, but there was a couple of issues with it that, you know, they led them to comment when we did the checkup and said, is everything all right with the food for you tonight? We got the feedback they weren't happy with a couple of the meals. Now, he was a bit grumpy because he was in his first day and he was rushing around trying to learn everything and so on and so forth. And he was short and snappy with the guy in charge of the party when he spoke to him. I overheard him do it. And I thought, here we go. And sure enough, when the guy came up to pay, you know, he refused to pay for those 2 meals. But he then said to the manager, I'm not going to pay for those 2 meals as we've discussed because I'm not happy with them. You've already said you're fine with that. What you do from there, by way of apology, is up to you. And he just looked at the customer and he went, well, what do you want me to do? And straight away, that caused a negative reaction from the customer, and they ended up not having a massive argument, but it ended up with tension between the two of them. And the upshot of it was that we had refunded 50% of the whole table, which cost us nearly £100. Now, if I'd spoken to the guy, the first thing I'd do is you would be immediately apologetic, even if it's not your fault, because you got to try and calm the guy down. Because the one thing you don't want to do is react with your own negative energy, if you want to call it that, you know, whatever description we're going to use, because immediately it will generate it from him, and then you immediately move beyond the point where you can talk like rational human beings and find a happy compromise both sides agree on, and then it's just damage limitation from then on out, you know. And I almost, if they were over on holiday and if they'd been locals, I genuinely would have run after them. But they went outside and he went off out the back. And if they'd been locals, I would have run after them and said, look, he's only here for a week. Please come back when he's not here. Come and see what the place is like. But I get the comment all the time from people at work, and there's no secret to how I do it. But they say, I have no idea how you stay so calm all day and you're always really bouncy and happy. I don't know if you guys have do you have the Duracell Bunny commercials?
Oh, yeah.
That's their nickname for me at work, Duracell Bunny. Right, 12, 15, 16 hours a day.
Bunny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they sort of bounce around work all the time. I don't know how you stay positive all the time and how you're always so sort of bright and friendly to the next customer when the last one's been an absolute cunt to you. There you go, first time tonight. Thank you, you're welcome. I've been doing it for an awfully long time. All of the anger I'm ever going to have at customers happened years ago. I don't have the patience for it anymore. It's an absolute waste of my time. It's a drain on your spirit. And what's a hard job anyway?
Patience for anger. But anger, it does take us a lot of fucking energy.
Yeah, it does.
I don't want to burn it anymore. I want to relax and have a good time.
I can turn that energy into keeping a smile on my face for the next guy, or for being upbeat about something, or if when a staff member is having a bad day, finding something in that day they've done good and going, hey, I saw you do that thing earlier and that was fucking awesome. You did really well. Thank you very much. And giving them that boost when they need it, because what goes around comes around. Then they're more upbeat. They're nice to the next customer. The customer is happy. Everybody's happy. And like you say, it's that chain reaction thing. If you can get it working, it's an amazing social dynamic.
Evening, Skipper. Good to see you, Jamin. Oh,
hey, Dimmer.
And I don't think you were around last week when I said it, but I got your postcard about the cracker. So,
Bob says I lost him £100. 100 British pounds sterling, Bob. 100 quid, 100 nicker.
Man.
That's a lot of money.
Ian says in our family there's no clear line between religion and fly fishing. There you go. It's, I get in trouble when I try to go fishing with my fly. I got a bite. No teeth. Light scraping.
Scraper.
So, how about this, guys? Do you think prayer or whatever along those lines can help bring positive things into your life?
I think it can make you notice the positive more because you're in that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That's my personal opinion.
Elizabeth?
I can't remember the question, but yes,
You
I
only
truly believe something about energy. I'm sorry, I'm writing right now, so my brain is in the back, and I'm thinking of all these examples. I'm trying to narrow them down. Ever since my roommate left,
Mhm.
my life has changed. My body is happier. Well, the cockroaches disappeared.
That'll make me happy. That's for fucking sure.
I'm in less pain. My hair is looking better. Things are different. I'm drinking less. I'm so much happier. And so much of it, and then when I'm around her, because I work, we've assimilated and we're at similar working situations. And she truly is a drain. She's constantly depressed. She's whining. Oh, she works all these days. And I notice when I'm around her now, I can just stay away from her. I've built up the strength again. And I think, and I'll go on about it later. I don't want to hog this conversation, but the Dalai Lama is adamant about training, disciplining your thoughts, and how what you think affects the universe, affects us all. And I truly believe in fighting the negativity by looking for the good and being the good and being the light. And I think it makes a difference. It really does. I believe it does.
Tempe, hello. Good to see you. Tempe says negative people
Hi,
literally
Tempe.
suck the life out of you. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Let me read this.
go ahead.
Bob says, Elizabeth, you need a new roommate that is 0.4% black.
Would he have to bring his wife?
He's not married.
Oh.
I thought you said, does he have to bring his white?
That's funnier.
That is fire. Sorry, Bob. I now have a 2-bedroom apartment to myself in New York. I'm not giving up that for a long time.
Ed, any follow-up on any of this?
I don't think it's the apartment he wants you to give up, but anyway.
I'm not giving up my white.
Yeah, both Kevin and Elizabeth. Kevin's commented about anger. I try to make that a rule in my life. I don't have time for anger. When I've been pushed enough to be angry, somebody's going to die. So I don't have time for anger. I try to approach everything positive, such as this weekend. I mean, for most people, this would have been a ruined camping trip.
Oh.
We laughed the entire fucking weekend and loved it. I just try to make the best of every situation. And I think when you start to practice that, you will continue that and you will see more positive in everything.
And it takes practice. It takes a lot of practice.
And constant. It's not a one-time, I practiced for a week or a month or a year and I'm good now.
Mm-mm.
It's continuous. I have read a
Every
lot
day.
of books, whether it's from the Dalai Lama or religious texts or even Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra. And no matter what you think about any of those books or texts or thoughts, there is something to it with... When I was younger, I practiced a lot of what you called energy work, positive energy, et cetera, and I saw other people doing this via prayer or Wiccan friends with their spells, etc. But I just focused on the positive, tried to draw that energy in and use it to create things in my life that I want. And it seemed to work. I got things I wanted. Then I adulted at like 25 and I stopped making time to focus like that on the positive. And I noticed years later, when I finally realized I stopped doing it, that these things had been washed away and I couldn't do what I used to do until I started refocusing again and paying attention to it, realizing there's a way to interact with the world, with yourself, with your thoughts. And it does make you healthier, happier. Yes, makes you notice things, but then things also seem to miraculously pop up once in a while that you're like, how the hell did that happen? What about you guys? Anything like that in your lives?
Well, this weekend, with all the storms and everything, on
I'm
my way to
sorry.
work.
Andrea, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Huh?
Des, feel
Yes.
better, man. Lay down
Oh,
and or leave it on and just don't talk to us. We'll let you be, but yeah, feel better, man.
Yeah, be
All right,
well,
good night,
man.
bro.
He's laying down due to a headache if anybody's not reading
Oh.
it. So yeah, go feel better. A
yeah, go take care of that.
little bit positive energy for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Andrea, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, on my way to work, this weekend, it's raining. Halfway down the road, one of my windshield wipers snap and flies off. Yeah, fun. So it's like dangling, and I can't use it because it'll scrape the windshield and bust it. So, like, okay, I make it to work, and it's just pouring so bad I can't see it. And hopefully, I'm like, hopefully I can make it home. I could have looked at it really bad, but I had enough money to buy more windshield wipers. Usually I don't, so I had to look at the positive. This happened, but at least I could fix it.
Oh, tell the rest of the story.
Which one?
When you went and bought windshield wipers.
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I leave work because Lowe's is right near Walmart, less than 2-minute drive. So I go and start to drive. It pours rain. I get there. I get in, try to find someone to help me. They don't acknowledge me, so I'm like, fuck it. I go find them, take care of it myself. Go, and I'm struggling to put these things on because they're weird. People are driving by. I'm getting splashed with water. Nobody's paying me any mind. As soon as I get it snapped on and put in, it stops raining. Yeah.
But see, it's because you kept up all that positive energy while you were trying to put it on. It just pushed the rain clouds away.
Okay.
Now tell him about the drive home and finish the story.
Oh, okay. Because it was raining, I fixed the one that was messed up. I'm like, okay, I'll do the other one later. Headed back home. It's sprinkling a little bit. Turn on the windshield wipers. The other one snaps in half and gets caught in the new one. I know, right?
Somewhere out there's a French silent film director frantically scribbling notes.
Want to read a couple
They're
comments?
fixed now. Let it rain. I don't care.
Let's see here. Okay, we got Des saying goodbye. Let's see. What do we got here? As long as there's free internet, porn, I'm positive. Thank you, Bob.
Hell yeah.
Juanita says, I'm back. Went to World Science Festival this weekend. My daughter was explaining the physics of something. I like your daughter already. Ian says, always keep the silver lining in your eye. And Bob says, Andrea, sorry about the rain story. Roughhead Kennedy says, great, by the way.
Yeah, Kennedy, I have Rain-X on it, but it's coming down when the rain's coming down so hard, it doesn't matter.
Also, it depends what kind of Rain-X. If you're using the windshield wiper fluid Rain-X, it's not as good as directly applying real Rain-X. Because when that stuff
And it's
is
been a while
fresh
since
and
I've done that.
first rain after you put that Rain-X on, it's like, I don't need wipers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wiper. I barely know her.
I'll stay positive.
Do you need emotional help? Take off your shirt, according to Bob. Lord have mercy.
Kennedy says, one time parking in Jersey City, got back to my car, my wiper arms were stolen. Got my rims and my radio, but they took my wiper arms.
The hell?
Elizabeth, now I know you're Christian-based Catholic, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That is correct.
So some of these questions I bring more directly towards you because of that, especially when I start talking about prayer. And that's what I asked about before. Now, if you're not comfortable answering, I don't have to ask. Are you comfortable?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, just checking. I don't want to put you on the spot, besides right now.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. I got a spot for you.
I don't know much about the Catholic or Catholicism, so it'll be very informative for me.
Everyone makes fun of Catholics until the vampires show up, and then we love you.
Bob, I thought you were converting to Black Baptist.
Black Panther. Black Panther.
Like biracial, he's also bi-religious.
Mm.
By any religion, if it has boobs. So, what do you think? Does prayer help bring things into your life that you couldn't normally get all by yourself?
Prayer has an effect.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It has a benevolent effect on life. Now, it's not always going to be the things that you think you want. Or more often than not, it's going to be the things you need.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even, you could say that's even Zen, you know. I don't think I think a lot of what you said about it being your interpretation, absolutely, if I look at it from my view, when I was raised, God made everything, including each person, animal, soul, for a reason. And maybe there are reasons why some people use prayer, and maybe there are reasons why some people use meditation, some people use a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I did live a little bit in darkness, and I was miserable, and I couldn't get out of it. And to reaffirm what you said, I basically didn't know what to do, so I started appreciating every single thing I had. And every night and every morning, I hit my knees and I thanked God for everything I had, even if some days all it was hot water.
Yeah.
And now, even now, some days I am thankful, and I pray on the train, and I thank God for giving me this one seat so I could sit down. And sometimes, I try not to curse anyone. I'm not perfect.
Try.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, I have to admit I fail quite strongly on that one myself.
Usually I don't curse specific people. I just curse where I'm like, fuck this. And Andrew's looking at me going, what? And I'm like, nothing. Because I'm just angry, but I don't want to direct it at anybody because I don't want to stick it on someone, and then I'm in the mindset of that person is my problem now. And I don't want that.
But I will say this, if I can interject here.
Mm-hmm.
When they took prayer out of the school,
mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things about church is everybody has to shut the fuck up. And I love that. We all have to be quiet and behave,
mm-hmm.
right? I love that. Okay. And then when they'd have moments of prayer, it doesn't mean you had to pray. You could just sit there and be quiet and listen and be just settle, be.
Mm-hmm.
Children don't have that now.
Yeah.
And you can see it, and you can see the way everyone has to constantly be plugged in or looking, feeding this void. They don't have the just be anymore, and we don't instill it. And I believe that's positive energy in that it could be without intent, and maybe it's even more pure, but it is a peacefulness that we're instilling in people.
Well, sitting in silence.
I think of Ed with that a lot, because there's been a lot of times, whether he's camping or even on his back porch, Ed shuts the fuck up. And now most people, including myself at times, you go to fill that silence. But once you get it and you shut up and you just sit there. You ever read Eat, Pray, Love?
Mm-hmm.
Good book, by the way. She goes to Italy and she learns something from the Italians, how to do nothing. To just sit there and relax. Now, she also learns the joy of food and friendship there. But that was one thing that stuck with me about her part in Italy. How to just do nothing. Not be on your phone, not watch a movie, maybe talking to your friends, maybe not, but just watch the world go by. I want to read some comments.
I need to go to Italy.
Yeah, I know. I know. She put
You
on
do.
weight.
It's awesome.
Let's see. John says, seems like the Inquisition is coming. Run, Elizabeth. Kennedy says, in church, I sometimes pray for a shorter service. Is that wrong? Bob prays for a bigger cannoli. Tempe says, I got unfriended on Facebook by an atheist strictly for saying I was a Christian yesterday. What are you today? Anyhow, 2 hours later, my online store nearly sold out. Coincidence? I think not. Sometimes just getting rid of a little negativity goes a long way. And then there's some good jokes here. John says, the Lord giveth, the Lord taketh away. Is the Lord an Indian giver? And Kennedy says, John, Ganesh is.
You know, God was a biker.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it says in Revelations, God's triumph was heard throughout the land.
And Bob asked Elizabeth, did you go to CCD or Catholic school?
No, born and raised. I went to Dodge School. I'm a military brat.
Okay. It's
What is CCD?
What is CCD?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm a military brat.
Well, you didn't go to it.
He didn't go to one, that's why you don't know.
I don't know.
Who's playing with a chain?
No,
Am I the only one that hears this? Like
I
a
can
rattling
if you like.
I heard it.
Oh,
Not that.
I don't know what it is.
that's the
Anyway.
sound of men working on the chains. Yeah.
Songs about black exploitation. Okay. Good. That's positive. Sam Cooke. I love Sam Cooke. Good stuff.
I did post something, but we could read it after the break about forgiving assholes.
Oh, I read that too. Yeah, we'll do that after the break. Let's. It wasn't a chain, it's a rosary. Let's ask this: how do you bring about positive change in your life? Now, I have a thought on this, but I'll let everybody else have a chance to speak on it first. Andrea, you look very like you want to say something.
Well, I was gonna wait for other people.
Don't.
But I was gonna say, like Tempe, getting rid of some negative influences, negative people in your life. That's one way to start.
Mm-hmm. How do you do it, Andrea? How do you bring about positive things in your life?
Still working on it, but and it's hard. It's the practicing seeing the positive in the negative situations. Getting rid of some toxic people or relationships.
Thanks, Des.
So,
Okay.
just that.
Ed? Did he freeze?
That's like Andrea said, get rid of toxic people, toxic situations, even change your job. I know it's not all that easy in this day and age, especially with the job market, but change your job. People, I had a friend in my life that was such a Debbie Downer, and I would have conversations with her on the telephone up to 2 to 3 hours sometime, and I would get off the phone with her and I would just be tired.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I would immediately do when I got off the phone with her was text my wife, I love you so much. And I would text her that because of the positive energy that's in our relationship versus what was going on in this other person's life. And she would know as soon as she got the text. You were just talking to Rachel, weren't you? Yeah.
You tried to hook me up with her?
She tried to hook herself up with you. I had nothing to do with that. She has now moved on, and I gotta admit, as much as I love her, I don't miss her.
Mm. What about you, Kevin?
I think it's a mixture of a couple of different things. Mindset's one of them. You have to be aware that in terms of whether you deal with something negatively or positively in your life, a lot of that is actually determined by you. If you approach something from a negative point of view and you focus on what's worst about it and how negatively it's impacted your life, you're making an uphill struggle for yourself. If you can come at it from the angle of, okay, let's look at what's salvageable from this situation, what still works, you know, what's not changed, what has this not screwed up, then by being more positive yourself, you're more likely, I think, to engender a positive outcome. And the other thing is, I think, having kind of like a focused baseline. And by that, I mean, this is something an old boss said to me ages ago. So you have to kind of think of what's core in your life that doesn't change, that's positive. What are the things that get you out of bed in the morning? Why do you bother going to work? Why do you get up every day? What is it that drives you? What is it that's positive about your life that gives you that energy to keep going on? Focus on that.
Everything.
Then whatever else happens around that, no matter how negative it is, none of that touches this kind of immutable core of your life. I'll give it, for example, I've got my wife, I've got my kids, you know, God forbid, but barring any sort of mishap, I've got my house, things like that, you know. So at work, when shit goes wrong, it doesn't bother me. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to lock the doors of work and I'm going to go home and my house is still going to be here. My wife will be asleep upstairs. My kids are still teenagers growing at an alarming rate like some kind of alien species. These things don't change. And because of that, I know that I can go and deal with any kind of crap that comes across my path at work on any given day because I've got that to come back to. So when you're in the middle of that situation where all of the shit is going wrong, where you've got a customer screaming in your face, spraying spit all down your freshly ironed shirt at 1 PM, the reason I'm not flipping my lid or snapping back at him or being angry and I'm smiling and calling him by his name and looking him in the eye and trying to calm him down is because I know that none of his anger is ever going to affect my wife or my kids. They're never going to know about him. He's not going to be able to knock my house down. That's how I deal with a lot of shit in my life. I just remind myself that it doesn't matter how much you try and fuck with me. You literally cannot break that core of my life, which is the reason I get up in the morning and I go to work every day. Because I get to come home to all of that.
Elizabeth?
I forgot the question. I'm listening to these amazing answers. Get
How do you-
wrapped up into the
How do you make
gloriousness
positive
of these
things happen?
people's souls that I see every week. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Ask me the question.
And keep going and complimenting them, but you know, how do you make positive things happen or bring positive things into your life? What do you do to make that?
Oh, when I start, I'll let you know.
That hurts our feelings. We thought we were the. No,
It was funny though.
you're fine. Go ahead.
I really don't work any other way. I think this is how I was created. My father always tells me, you could throw me in a pile of shit and I'll come out with a pony. You know, I'll find that pony in there. I don't know why.
Then I wonder who buried the pony in shit. What the fuck?
I can't. I don't want to be any other way, and that's what keeps me going. I don't want to be part of the darkness. I see, you know, sometimes I'll look at these people around me, and you can almost see the suffering of them, and I don't want to be that. And what I do is I am the light. And just today, I had an amazing conversation with these young lads, and I didn't get any work done on the train because of them, but I definitely affected everything. Made things better, and I think that's what it is make things better when you're around. When I focus, I keep plants, because when you focus on something, keeping something alive, it keeps you from being depressed. It keeps you, when you add the goodness in the world, you become a part of that. And I think that's how I call it being in the current. That's how you bring things your way, or you notice things.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I have any control over what comes to me. I'm not sure.
Andrea, did you? Oh, I'm sorry, Ed. Go on.
Well, I don't want to go someplace else before you state what you want to say, but State what you want to say, and then I'll ask the question.
We're about to go into a break. I wrote down what I want to say so I don't forget it for after this week in history.
Okay.
Right?
So if you want to scribble down your note, Ed, we'll come back to it also. And
I'll
Anna,
remember.
Potty time.
Before we go into the break, remind everybody how to share.
real quick, couple comments. Lady Skipper says we send out postcards to spread positivity. Good. I like them. I'm enjoying them. And I enjoy sharing them.
I am as well. I am now privileged to have joined the circle of postcard
really?
receivees. Yes.
It's John says sometimes it's necessary to expel the negative things just to ensure. Oh, well, thank you for that subscription. Appreciate that, Elizabeth.
You're welcome.
Sorry, John was saying sometimes it's necessary to expel the negative things just to ensure others can enjoy themselves, which is sometimes tough in retail, as Kevin stated. Kennedy says, oh, thanks to Elizabeth, I've been killing things to make things better. I need a plan. Let's go ahead and go into the break, and then when we'll come back, I will state my thoughts, and Ed can state. Wow, you got a bunch of them. Good for you, man. And it's so easy to do, to put a quarter on a postcard and send it wherever.
It's 29 cents now.
For a postcard?
Is it?
Oh, wow. I
To go
remember.
overseas?
I have a roll of postcard stamps.
Is it 29 to go overseas?
Oh no! When I sent Kevin one, it was $1.15.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh. I'm sorry.
Everybody, remember to go below your video, hit the share. I'm doing it right now, and then we're going to go into a refill break, and we'll be right back with This Week in History, and then continue our conversation, because we love this shit. We'll be back.
Coffee.
Yeah. Mute yourselves, everyone. Do you want to do it all?
All right.
Okay. Okay,
It
you ready?
helps when you say, hey, Elizabeth, do it all in one continuum.
I wasn't sure.
Okay. No, see, this is what you should be recording.
We are.
Talk the Tavern. Here you're always welcome.
So, look at that. So, where do you think they're telling him to store his crayons?
I don't know. I just want to get stoned.
Hey, Elizabeth, you're a movie maker,
I
right?
am.
Turn around, because I want to star your ass.
Oh.
Oh, no.
No. I am the eyes in the sky looking at you.
Pregnancy notes. Don't do that again. You know, I don't know where we're going to find that many baby amputees.
And I told my college roommate, Streak Ray.
Boy, it's thick on the street.
Somebody asked me if I know what the Coast Essentials are, and I was like, sure. I got his Visa card. Do you know Bobby's PIN? Utterly smooth.
Extra body.
I got a super look.
Volumizer!
Sock it to me.
So hot tea is getting more and more specialized as it grows in popularity. For example, here's one for healthy skin. Now check this out. Smooth Move for occasional constipation. Everyday detox for those of you hooked on meth. There's no joke in this one. This one is totally serious. Okay, we got mint. They've been around. Peanut butter. Red velvet. Hot and spicy cinnamon. Sorry. Got a cookie butter. Cinnamon bun Oreo. Chocolate hazelnut. Lemon. What else we got here? Come on, Oreo. Stop it already. You're getting ridiculous. Oh, there's birthday cake. Right up there. Look at this strange exotic poodle. Let's find out more about him. Oh. Oh my god, that's one fucked up poodle. And for the tramps in your life, not that I'm judging, I love me a good little tramp. But here's the open leg pant. And it's cheap too. Want to see some really shitty games? Here's Toilet Trouble, Doggy Doo, and Don't Step in It. My favorite part, just so you know, doggy do is a choking hazard. Don't choke on the doggy do, because then you'll be in toilet trouble. Did I just step in it? Look, 15 burpees? No, it's sport days. You know what I really like? If I'm a cattle wrestler, I like 15 calf races. If I live in the city, I steal 25 bicycles. If I'm a whore, I get 15 crab walks. But know what I really like? 15 butt kicks. Kick ass. It's all in how you say things. Suave kids. Purely fun. No tears. No die. This baby alive. She cries tears, so we like to call this one Sweet Tears Baby. Look, it's Sweet and Treats Cabbage Patch, and that's why they have no teeth. This time it just didn't cut it. You know how sometimes guys use shampoo to masturbate in the shower? Axe Daily Thickening with caffeine. You gotta be careful what you grab. See my awesome abs? They're 28-inch abs. Brilliant brunette, visibly deeper. Notice they didn't use blonde for that one. Look, camouflage pajama bottoms. Wouldn't you like to see me in those? But you couldn't. Look carefully. That is Kraft beer conditioner and shampoo. You know, it had to be a drunk guy that figured this one out. Drench your dew. Feel the buzz. Star Trek Deep Space Nine fans, band together and stop this atrocity. So nothing like getting a good bowl of cereal and afterwards drinking the milk. But look what I found. Cereal milk. Peanut butter. Yeah, peanut butter flavor. So now you could buy the stuff just to put in milk so it tastes like the stuff from your cereal.
This week in history.
Hey Ed, what happened this week in history?
Shit happened, y'all.
Just,
Okay, I'm gonna make a bunch of excuses here since I was like stuck on the side of a river and shit and yada yada. I just did entertainment shit this week. So, but anyway, June 8th, 1984, the now classic, Ghostbusters is released in theaters. Yeah.
Who are you gonna call?
Ghostbusters.
Oh, not your mom?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
36 years ago, the movie Poltergeist is released. This one I laughed because I actually watched some clips from it today. 35 years ago, War Games is released. And I was looking at video games back then compared to video games right now. I was like, yeah, it was pretty pitiful. Yeah, okay, whatever. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Kennedy worked in the theater when Ghostbusters came out.
I went to the theater when it came out.
Yeah, me too. Way back in those days. 22 years ago, the Fugees, I can say that, released the hit "Killing Me Softly." It was kind of cool. Not as good as Roberta Flack, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's been remade 50 times since then.
Yeah, 50 times. 28 years ago, Total Recall, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, is released.
It's a 3-booby woman.
And I noticed they put the 3-booby woman in the remake.
Yeah, they did.
Give it to Mars.
26 years ago, Sister Act is released.
That was pretty
good.
And
now it's on Broadway.
Is it?
Yeah. And 27 years ago, I had to put this in there just for the brother factor. Jodeci released their debut album, Forever My Lady. Now, that was some good grinding music on that album, if you know what I mean.
We don't. Explain it slowly and in a slow voice.
If you don't know, then I can't explain it to you.
Can you say cannoli? Bob now wants to know.
I know Bob wants to know, but no, I'm not going to do that.
Can you do charades with it?
June 2nd, I should have did this for last week, but June 2nd was National Bubba Day. So I got a shout out to all my Bubbas out there. Bill Horn, Bill Shouse, Chris Hockman, and all the rest of you guys I served in the military with. Happy day, Bubba.
There we go.
That's it.
That's it. Ah. Anybody got any weird news or anything?
Well, I have a news story. It is breaking news from NPR. Sherlock star Benedict Cumberbatch saved cyclists from muggers. And this was, I guess, the second Saturday. Uber driver Manuel Diaz told The Sun, "I was taking Benedict and his wife to a club, but I didn't know it was him at first." On the side of the road, there was a cyclist being shoved around, pushed around by four guys. Said the passenger jumped out, ran over, and pulled the men away. They turned towards him, and things that looked like they were getting worse, so I joined in. Basically, Benedict Cumberbatch jumped out of this cab to go save someone. That's awesome.
You put the Doctor Strange on him, man.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Sherlock Holmes, whichever. Whatever your geek is. And by the way, a quick
Well,
shout
they
out
put it
to-
as headline as Sherlock Holmes, so.
I don't know if Spacey Tracy is watching, but thank you for supporting the Kickstarter. I got your message there. Appreciate it. Okay, go on. Yeah.
Oh, that
Bob?
was it. I'm just reading. Oh my god.
Today is National Topless Day.
Bob, good try, but I happen to know for a fact that's in September.
Not
Today
every,
is
not
Tuesday.
every day was that day.
At that time it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Today's National Bottomless Day. That's why I'm not wearing any pants. Cannoli.
Okay, anybody got any gay people?
Huh?
Do we have birthdays or anything?
I got birthdays.
Ooh.
I bet you do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whose birthday?
All right, June 5th, 1971. Rapper turned actor Mark Wahlberg.
I like him.
I did too.
We need him on the show.
Yes. Oh, that will be hilarious, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
June 7th, 1952. Actor Liam Neeson. We know him as Qui-Gon Jinn. June 7th.
That's next week.
June 7th, 1958. Singer, songwriter, and musician Prince Rogers Nelson.
Wow, I didn't know he had other names.
Yeah, well, June 9th, 1963, actor Johnny Depp, the other Sherlock Holmes.
Wait, is he Sherlock Holmes? I thought that was Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, it's Robert Downey Jr.
Okay. Johnny Depp wasn't Sherlock Holmes yet?
I'm sure he has been at some
No,
point.
they
or
all
will
look
be.
alike, you know.
Yeah.
White people.
White
Am I
people.
right?
And personal birthday shout outs to my favorite teacher, Roger Flincham, and my brother for another mother, Alan Freeman, also known as the GOAT.
Not because of Waiting, is it? You ever seen the movie Waiting about restaurants?
His actual name is Godfrey Alan Freeman, and they turned Godfrey to GOAT for some reason. It's a black thing.
That is racist, Bob. You're right. You're welcome. Anybody else got birthdays? Okay, good. Let's get back to the topic. Let's see. Is there any other comments we missed before we get back into things here?
Let's have a look.
I love that Des snuck in, dropped 51, asked Bob if he needs more salt in his diet, wandered back over.
I've been keeping an eye on this. I've not commented on it since earlier, but despite protestations that there wasn't going to be anything happening. There's a quiet little battle taking place in the chat box tonight.
It's one of those things. I stopped.
It's a gentlemanly joust back and forth.
It is, and it's definitely entertaining. And I don't give a shout every time it happens, because at some point in time it stops being about us and starts being about their competition, and that I'm just going to watch and be entertained as opposed to toasting them each time. It's okay. Andrea, did you have a thought that you wanted to go on, or shall we just go to Ed?
I thought
go
you
to
did.
Ed.
Well, I have quite a few.
I thought you had a thought.
I do. I have many thoughts.
And then Ed was going to ask a question.
Did you have a comment or a question, Ed?
It's more of a question.
Okay, I'll go on with mine. Now the
First of all, I'm not hearing any of the sounds when people are redeeming stuff, or Kevin redeemed his cock or anything. I'm not hearing any of that. Are you?
I am not.
Okay, the sounds may be turned off. Just so you're aware.
Okay.
Now let me ask you, if I unmute this, is there an echo of me now? Are you guys getting my voice twice?
No.
Okay, you guys listening to the stream, let me know if you're getting. I mean,
got it.
You're hearing the cheers, right? You weren't hearing the cheers before?
Heard that.
I heard the cheers before. I just didn't hear anything. Let's see. Kevin redeemed his cock. I hear nothing.
I didn't hear that.
I didn't hear anything either.
No, me neither.
Is there an echo from me, guys? Because I turned that off last week because it was an echo from me. I don't know what's up with that. It could be a problem with Stream Elements.
Damn it.
Okay.
So,
but Skipper did redeem a dad joke.
Before I get into my response, then let me go ahead and whip out my dad joke book here.
Let me just whip this out.
Real good.
Oh, here's a great one. If you're struggling to think of what to get someone for Christmas, get them a fridge and watch their face light up when they open it up.
Only if it's filled up. I need food.
No, like. Anyhow, okay, so we were working on the question of how to make positive things happen. Thank you, Roughhead. Appreciate that. So my bottom line for how you make things happen, it's not any one thing. It's a series of things. First of all, you work on something. That's how you make something happen. Now, to bring positive things about, the thing you're working on doesn't even have to relate to the positive things that will come out of it. It just makes you feel good, makes you feel productive, etc., etc. Also, you know, Kevin, I think, mentioned about it being an uphill battle. When he goes and with his positivity, choose your hill. You don't have to climb somebody else's hill. You can choose the hill that you love the scenery on, and that's your family. That's the core things from you that you just makes your day. Hey, Bob, to get a full refund on your bits, that's no problem. Just throw enough more. When you hit a certain point, you get them all refunded. Elizabeth mentioned being thankful. This actually helps a lot. It changes your whole attitude by when you pray, when you go to sleep. If you're not a praying person, take a moment and consciously thank the universe, God, whatever you want, for what you have. And pick things out. Pick out the person on the train you talk to. Pick out, you know, the rain not being so much that you had to pull over when your windshield wiper started hugging the other one. My cats are something that bring a lot of positivity into my life. They make me laugh every day. They make me smile, and they comfort me. That's similar to the plants. Not like that.
Well, no. I was thinking about earlier during the break. There was some positiveness.
Oh, yeah.
I turned the light on right before my foot came down on a hairball. Cat barfed. So
it wasn't my hair.
That's a positive.
So yeah, when relaxing, when you have a chance to just be and be quiet, whether it's meditation or prayer or just laying in bed or whatever, just that quiet moment helps center you. And it sounds so cheesy and cornball, but it does. It brings you back to yourself. Yes, Elizabeth?
My own experience with family and getting, life-threatening diseases, doctors absolutely acknowledge the power of positive energy
Oh, absolutely.
and prayer and meditation. In fact, it is recommended along with your other regimens. And, of course, insurance has yet, at least in America, to cover this. But it is absolutely recommended by doctors. And I think that says something about the whole issue. Or validates.
Other things I do. Christians have this philosophy. Surrendering to God. And other religions and faiths and paths have this similar thing. When you struggle against your life so hard, you're going to get nowhere. I've related it to when you're in a bubble bath and you want to make that one bubble scoot along. If you push that water too hard, you pop the bubble goes where you never think it will. If you gently push, you can move it where you want. You go with the flow. Let yourself go. Understand that it's easier to get the shore by swimming with current than against it.
Depends on how strong that damn current is.
It's very true. There are some times, but fighting against current, all you're going to do is, hit the rocks tired. And you don't have a chance to look for the rocks if you're fighting too hard. The other thing is spreading joy. I like to do this via making people smile. Sometimes that's a compliment. Sometimes it's a... Yes, Elizabeth, I see. Oh, you're just smiling. I'm spreading my joy. It's like the dish soap of life.
Well, you got to spread something. So.
Spread some love, brother. Spread some love.
I'm thinking how well the refill break fit this topic. There was something that says don't step in it, and I thought of Andrea. There was something else that had... They were women's sweatpants, and it said spread leg pants, and I make a joke about that in the video. And yeah, here we go with all these things. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe we're just picking it out. But compliments, it's so easy to give somebody a compliment, whether it was Elizabeth earlier talking about how amazing everybody's thoughts are and what beautiful spirits, or when you're at work saying that one nice thing that isn't hitting on anybody, whether it's a male or female, of, hey, your hair looks good today, or man, I love your eye makeup, or ma'am, I love your eye makeup.
Whatever, we don't judge.
But it's a series of things, but the biggest thing is being conscious of it.
Yes, in my job, a compliment is a manager's strongest tool. It can literally flip somebody's day.
Mm-hmm.
He won't watch the show. I got a nipper who works for me called Kyle, and Kyle is amazing. He's only a young nipper in his late teens, and he works like an absolute horse. But he's whippet thin, and he's tiny as well. And he gets a bit flustered sometimes if it's ridiculously busy and he's under pressure, and especially if he's in a situation where he's not supported by somebody else who's a bit calmer. He has a tendency to get all hot and bothered and a bit flustered by stuff. And if I walk past and I see he's like that, I'll just stop and I go, I saw that or this or something that I'd noted earlier in the day. I saw you do that earlier, Carl, by the way, and that was brilliant. You're doing really well. Let me know if there's anything you need. You've got this. I've got faith in you. Go get them. And that you can literally, it's like turning a light bulb on in the kid. You just give him that little bit of positive reinforcement in his day, and all of a sudden he's like, do you know what? Fuck all this shit. I've got this.
Like you forgot the fifth gears, and you showed him where fifth gear is, and now he's rolling smooth.
Kind of, yeah, you know. Or more like he's been revving hard for the last half hour, and I pointed out he's still got the handbrake on, that kind of thing. But it's about just you got to kick someone's mind out of the rut they get into.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trick, you know. It's not a subtle psychological technique. It's a dirty great wedge in the road. You know, it's designed to kick you out of what you're doing, because you do get trapped in these kind of cycles of self-feeding. Self-pity and loathing sounds too strong a word, but you get where I'm coming from. You know, where like I said earlier, one bit of negativity feeds onto another. And sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it to yourself, and it takes somebody else around you to see it and go, hey, you're being a dick. Oh, yeah. Actually, you're right. I am.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes it's all it takes.
What are you addicted to? Are you addicted to autopilot and being negative, and everything is pessimistic, and or are you addicted to discipline and always looking for that silver lining? It can change your life. It really, truly can. It changes your blood pressure.
Tits.
Bob.
Sorry,
Okay, we've hit it there.
It also changes my blood pressure.
Part of my earlier question is do you think, we think, any of you guys think there are people out there that are just addicted to the negativity?
Yeah.
It seems like every conversation, it's the bad thing that happened to them today or yesterday or the day before.
Yes.
There's no silver lining. They can say, I enjoyed this, but then they're going to find something that happened within that thing that they were doing they enjoyed that wasn't good. And
and I tried to do the opposite.
Why are you so fucking miserable is what I want to say to him sometime. And I don't know. And another thing I wanted to, what you were saying, Travis, the thankful and the giving people compliments, which, yes, thankful to the deity, creator, whatever you believe in there, but also being thankful to other people. That is so very, very important. When you tell somebody thank you for the littlest thing and you see them, that's a burst of positive energy, and hopefully they will pass that on to somebody else for the littlest thing. That doesn't always happen, but hopefully it will. I'm done.
Yeah.
Andrea, did you have something to add?
I was going to say, I know a woman, and I don't speak to her. A friend of mine I don't talk to very much because she's always so negative. And it's like, if you're so miserable, change it. And instead of changing it, I think she enjoys it. Mm-hmm. She enjoys to be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Des didn't run. And by the way, Kennedy said, my strongest tool is sometimes giving compliments. Yes, absolutely. As for the negativity, some people thrive on it. It creates meaning in their life when they have that trauma. It gives them a purpose. It gives them a sense of excitement, which is a horrible type of excitement. That's like, do you want to go on the roller coaster or the roller coaster that's on fire? You have a choice. Why the hell do you get back in line for the one that's on fire? The other one you can go enjoy and still get that same thrill. But you're like, no, I'm on the dangerous one. Look at me. And then hopefully everybody else is like, look at all the shit they're in. Yes, Ed.
Kennedy just posted something that made me go, Mm-hmm. For some people, it's the negative loop in their thoughts.
Yeah.
You want to comment on that, Ed?
Yeah, I can see that, I think.
It's easy when you're having a bad time to create the loop that we've discussed a few times in the past hour and a half. You get into that and you feed into it, and eventually it becomes a spiral and it becomes an addiction, as Elizabeth was saying. And yeah, you have to find something to break that addiction or shift it to something else.
Well, there's that old.
Sorry.
There's that old. It's a saying. I don't know where. Some people say it's Indian. Some people say whatever. Everyone's got two wolves in themselves, and it depends what wolf you're feeding. When they did an experiment and they just yelled at plants, they withered and died.
It's true.
They didn't survive.
Now, was that because of the negativity or because they needed to brush their teeth?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Was it the bad breath?
Well, it wasn't the sound because they tried different sorts of loud sounds. And there's actually, I think it's in Holland, there's a farmer that plays Barry Manilow music because the cows produce a third more milk.
Prince Charles famously talks to his plants and extols the virtue of talking to plants. It makes biological sense as well because you inhale oxygen and expel carbon dioxide, and plants absorb carbon dioxide. So theoretically, over a prolonged period of time, if you talk to a plant close enough, you're actually feeding it.
Yeah.
There's that. And then Ian says, hey, at least I'm not shitting in my drawers every day, so there's that. And then Des dropped 11 bits and said, picks Mike back up. I'm sure Mike appreciates it. John says I yell at the fucking weeds all the time and they never die. And Funky Punk, hey Funky Punk, good to see you dropping in, says, are all the cows named Caroline? And he puts them in a big line, then you have a sweet Carol line.
Bump.
So, Bob, you say you love Barry Manilow. Is that biblically?
Oh.
Because Barry Manilow goes that way. Pride Month.
He likes Barry Manilow because he writes the songs.
He does. He does. I like Barry Manilow.
Oh, me too.
Ed.
You know, you can feel it too. I have, people ask me my strength, and morale is a big component of how I work. And I have to agree with Kevin. You know, I like to keep the morale high. And I've walked into rooms and you can tell, like, ooh, it's a shit day already. You know, you can just feel it. Even everyone's pissed off. And slowly, one by one, you can work your way through and get it at least kind of back on the tracks. But when I went to school, and they seek you out when you're new, the little trolls, the shit trolls, and they want to come bitch to you, and that's all they're ever going to do. And I had the teachers leaving, and she started chewing into me, and I looked at her and I said, sweetie, I'm just starting my day. I'm not doing this. She stomped away and has not spoken to me since, and I've been the better woman for it.
There we go. It's Des asks, how do plants react to Tom Waits and Nick Cave? Des, we're leaving that experiment up to you. Go buy 2 plants, 2 speakers, let us know how it goes.
I have several plants in my house that are subjected on a quite frequent basis to Tom Waits, and none of them have died yet, so I can at least attest there are no negative effects to it.
Let's see, where was I going to go now? I didn't scribble it down. I was trimming my nails.
Metaphysical?
We can go metaphysical. What direction are you thinking of?
Well, I mean, up till now, we've talked about how we react to one another and how we ourselves perceive positive and negativity within ourselves. But do we think that positive and negative energy can affect other things around us? The weather, blah, 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 blah.
I've had a lot of experiences with the weather, especially when I used to bicycle to and from work in my early years. The weather would stop raining just long enough for me to get home. And it was really weird because it happened consistently enough. And I have the belief that, you know, if it happens a few times, it's a coincidence. After that, it's a pattern. And what does that pattern mean is, you know, but was somebody or something looking out for me? Was it just...
Or it just didn't rain at 3 o'clock in the afternoon every afternoon.
Or 2 in the morning.
Okay.
When I was bicycling home from work. Thank you, Des. Responding. Wait, we can feel it to keep the morale high, says John, and Des says the beatings will continue until morale improves. It's So can our positive point of view, or prayer, or lighting a candle, or whatever, actually cause larger effects in the world? Effects that we never put our hands directly on, and something we didn't make happen.
Well...
Or even wish to happen.
When people say pray for me, I don't know how I feel about that. Just like click and like. What does it do? That's just me. But I don't believe in that. So, thoughts?
Elizabeth has a thought. She's got her lips closed, so she's trying to hold it in.
All right. I'm committed to being a warrior of peace and being a light. In fact, my mission statement at Pickleman Productions is kindling a light in the mere darkness of being. Thank you, Mr. Young. It does matter. It does. And I would say at the very lowest level in martial arts, we used to create a ball of energy and try to hit someone with it on the mat. Like, focus your intent. And usually you could get it right. You could find your own weapon in a pile of weapons. You know, that's just little things. If you went every day and stared at someone and wished them the worst, I think it would affect them. And I think I'm going to go with the Dalai Lama here. I truly believe, and I say this with art, I like art because when you create, I believe you're putting in, I don't know, releasing your spirit or your soul, your essence, something good into the world. You're filtering out the bad, taking away that pollutant, that ego, that stink we humans put out there. And I believe when people say, oh, we're in such horrible times, it's horrible. Well, what are you doing to help? What are you doing? And I believe that when people say, well, this doesn't work, how do you know? Try it. Try making it work. Try being that. I challenge students every day. Sometimes I go home and I see how many smiles can I get. And I call it fishing. In New York, it's a bitch. Sometimes if I get 3, I'm like, yes! You know, try that. If people tried, you know, you can't just sit back, oh, look at all the filth. Life is horrible. Be active. Be responsible. Take part. That's all.
No, see, now I understand where you're coming from. If you stare at someone or you wish something upon a person you know or you see, but like on Facebook, if it's some random person, click like and pray for something.
Yeah,
that's what I was going at.
I agree.
So it's like, hey, pray for my friend or pray for my family. I don't know.
If I prayed for everybody that posted on Facebook, pray for me, I'd never get off my fucking knees.
Well,
here, I've got.
Yeah, that didn't come out too good, did it?
No, but it's true.
That's what she said. No, I believe in the energy thing. If someone in your social group or someone you have a connection with, if you send out the positive energy, yes, I think it could affect them. But for some random person, you have no.
Kev?
My point of view, I think, is that some of it depends on perception again, how you're looking at the situation. I think we've all experienced those moments where a large group of human beings can appear to, for one reason or another, develop kind of like a single consciousness, whether it's the mood of a crowd at a rally or something turning, or the audience at a music concert, all getting kind of a rush of energy at the one particular moment or whatever. We've seen these kind of moments happen ourselves, and I think sometimes people forget that it's like drops of water. You know, one drop of water will not wash away a house. You get 1,000,000 drops of water and you've got a flood that will demolish concrete. It's like that with human beings. If we focus on all of these huge external problems, we're wasting our time. We need to start with each one of us being a positive person. And if by being positive we can engender more positivity in the people around us, then slowly, like ripples in a current, that will spread outwards. And hopefully, if we can stop being dicks to each other. We've talked about this before when we've talked about the internet and stuff like that, about how people are so disassociated from each other these days that there's no consequence to being horrible to somebody, so people just do it more often. And we're pouring all this horrendous negativity into the world. Yeah. I refuse to be one of those dickwads. I get perverse pleasure. Find your own way of being happy about it. I'm 6'8". I've long ago learned that physically, up close, if you don't know me, I can be an intimidating person just because of my stature. I get that. so people kind of approach me warily sometimes, more warily than they would somebody else, and I get perverse pleasure out of being really nice and pleasant and watching them walk away with a baffled expression on their face going, that guy was really nice. Little moments like that, tiny little moments, the more of these we can engender and create in the world, the more we can encourage other people to do stuff like that, the more we create the kind of atmosphere where one tiny little action seems to have a much more sort of cosmically significant ripple effect on the situation around us. I think that's why sometimes people can attribute their positive energy or the positive energy of an event to having these kind of more superior powers, if you like, however you want to describe it, Ed, but the ability to affect other things around us is not so much because of some kind of weird cosmic force, but because people are pooling that positive energy in one direction at the same time.
I agree with that, and I'll support that. When there are prayer groups, there are nunneries, there are people that pray 24 hours a day, nonstop, for that very purpose, for the betterment of the world, for, to cleanse, to purify. And that's, whatever you want to call that, they're actively doing that. And I know I've told this story on the show about when my brother was in seminary school, there was a speaker, and the speaker described a moment where he was on a plane, sitting next to a woman, and he was on his way to a prayer meeting like that, where people would pray for 24 hours for a week long. And he didn't really mention to her what he was doing, but they both started talking, and she was a witch. And he said, oh, that's great. Okay, what are you doing? And she was on her way to a convention where they were going to pray for the negative effects on people. And he said, did you know these people by name? And he was on her list. Now, he never identified himself directly in that way to her, but just remember, just because maybe you don't believe something doesn't mean that other people don't believe something. And maybe they're not doing something so nice.
A few comments from the crowd here. Grizzic has shown up. Hello, good to see you. Fix the damn door. Let's see here. What else are we talking to? He says, I pray for strangers all the time. In fact, my faith encourages that. Tempe says,
Wow.
You will do no harm, and you will have nothing to lose by wishing somebody well. As a person, you have everything to gain for yourself. Kennedy responded with, I get perverse pleasure, too. And then Tempe bitches about spell check. John said to Kevin, how dare you make good sense, sir? And Kennedy said, get thee to a nunnery. And Bob, keep praying. We're all praying for that.
Yeah, we're praying for that, Bob.
Go ahead, Ed.
No, okay, I want to bring this back around again, okay, because when I speak of the metaphysical, I don't necessarily think of prayer. Having grown up in a Christian church, I happen to know the Christian faith is not going to want you to compare prayer to what we're discussing today. Now, also having studied Eastern religions and Native American religions, there is a lot of metaphysical, when you push out positive energy, this can happen and that can happen and the other. An example I will give, if anyone's ever been to a drum circle, I was at a drum circle one time, and it was very intense, very deep, very emotional even. It was incredible. The sound of the drums, the beat, everybody was just in unison and everything. And as soon as everyone ended, because it ended exactly on cue, this incredible gust of wind came out of absolutely nowhere. Coincidence?
Maybe, maybe not. There's been times I'm outside working on the lawn, sweating like a dog, there's no wind, and I ask for a little wind just to cool the sweat on me, and it happens. What's that mean? Going back to other stuff here, after my divorce...
No, Bob, I did not cry.
After my divorce, I became very bitter and untrusting of a lot of people, really everybody around me. And I made a conscious choice to go back to being naive and a little foolish in that aspect because I'm happier that way. Which doesn't mean I let myself be a doormat. I recognize the signs and put an end to it, but I choose to start any new relationship with an acquaintance or a friend by trusting them, as opposed to automatically being suspicious of when are they going to do some shit. Now, as soon as I see shit, I recognize shit, I point at shit, I call the shit out, and I don't step in the shit. And
Deep shit.
A lot of shit. There was one time, I guess I was 17, and I was walking to work at to McDonald's, and I'm walking down the sidewalk in South Florida, because Florida has sidewalks. And I'm in a good mood, but this particular day I was just not happy. And I had my hands shoved in my pockets, and my shoulders slumped, and I was stomping or shuffling, or a combination of the two, down the sidewalk, and I passed probably 50, give or take 5 years, walking her dog, and she walked by me and she said, "Good morning." That one little good morning made my head pop up, made me realize somebody spoke to me that has no reason to and doesn't give a damn, it doesn't know me, and it changed my whole attitude that day by one good morning. And obviously here I am 30 plus years later, and I remember that one event. So it makes a difference in how you treat people. But now, yes, Kev?
If you're ever over this way again, or if anybody else from America is a tourist in England and you are in London, have fun with a great game where you just smile, look someone directly in the eye and say good morning in a pleasant way and watch them utterly shit themselves. That you
No, try it in New York.
I was in New York.
Oh, I shall do. I intend to. I intend to be thoroughly pleasant to everybody that I meet when I come to America. I'm going to be everybody I pass. Hi, how wonderful your country is. Hello.
I was in New York City walking around with my buddy who lived up there. And after like 20 minutes walking down the street, he's like, "Travis, quit making eye contact before somebody fucking knifes you." But I would make eye contact and nod at people and, smile and whatnot. Yeah, got advised against that. I'm like, no, yeah, I think I'm going to keep making eye contact. That way I see the knife coming. But back to the metaphysical. So do you think we can influence things outside of our physical realm?
Yes.
Elizabeth,
I agree. No, I agree.
I think it's possible. I'm afraid I'm one of those horrible skeptical people. I came from quite a scientific background, and I was raised as a Christian. I'm what I suppose you would refer to as a lapsed Christian. But I'm kind of ambivalent. I'm a bit on the fence. I don't believe because I've seen no evidence that makes me want to believe strongly enough. But I'm rational enough to realise that human beings are nowhere near as smart as we think we are. There's an awful lot more to the universe that we live in than we're conscious of yet. So I refuse to rule it out as a possibility, and therefore I accept it as equally as viable as anything I might choose to believe in. And it comes back around to what I was saying earlier about perspective. To me, that's a really big thing when it comes to positivity and negativity. They're two sides of the same coin. It just depends where you're stood looking at the coin.
Andrea?
I just want to acknowledge Toei's comment that that's a horrible way to live. Being shut down like that just to fit into New York or London. True. But there's a reason. I understand the logic behind it, because when you're too nice to people, like, there's crackheads and there's people that you show any type of friendliness, they're going to knife you, or
they're going to take advantage of you in some form.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we got crackheads in the South, and they don't knife nobody.
They're not as so in a concentrated area, you know?
You know, they say, how y'all doing? You got $1 you can spare? Okay, man. I'll hit up the next one.
And by the way, Kennedy says, I do help people in New York City with directions often, and with luggage on subways and the like, and I helped a lady get on the right train to Newark Penn Station in my light conversational Spanish. I will put this out. Helping others for me, in my opinion, is a selfish act because I get something out of it. I feel good.
Mm.
And I enjoy feeling that way, so I help others. Now that might not be my motivation. Really, they tried to block that comment. They had me mod Kennedy's comment of Southern and Canadian
I
crackhead.
allowed it.
I allowed it too. I will say this: I have tested karma, and I don't believe in it because that shit if karma worked, there'd be a lot more people in trouble. And by the way, if anybody wants to prove me wrong, I would only thank you for it.
I think there are repercussions for your actions, good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to keep that in mind too.
I mean, things will eventually. You screw over enough people. Eventually, somebody's gonna put something back on you. Elizabeth, you look like you have a thought.
I have many.
Would you care to voice them out loud?
That science is currently studying the effects of this. They're currently working on it. And they're not saying that there is a correlation, though. That always gets down to the very end. They dispute it, but then they say, we cannot confirm or deny.
Right.
However, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I do notice I go through phases where I'm in a phase right now where what I need seems to be there in the current, and I can't stop people from talking to me. So I just roll with it and have fun.
It's your body language. You have an open body language.
I'm sitting there writing a horror story. These guys are writing.
But you're doing something creative in public, and you know that kind of energy draws eyes and curiosity.
Mm-hmm. But the thing I do want to say, just in defense of my town, because New York is my town, it's not that. It's just that there's a very high volume of people concentrated in an area, and every day they say over 3 million people come into the island to work, and then they leave the island. So it's it's like bumblebees just crashing into each other. They do not take care of their mentally ill. They leave them on the streets, on the subways. They're everywhere, and it's just getting worse. And it's different when there's crazy people on the outside of your car banging on the window versus touching you on the subway.
Yeah.
A little bit of... I walk miles every week to work, and I'm just too damn tired to outrun anyone. And they take away your gun, so what are we supposed to do?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, off topic.
You need to get famous.
Not really.
Get super famous, Elizabeth, and spread some of your positive energy by hiring me as a bodyguard, and I'll just come and stand next to you and look menacing at anyone who comes close.
And then when they come close enough, Kevin will be like, "Good day, how are you? You have a beautiful country."
Hi, how are you? Sit down. I've got a cup of tea. Would you like one?
And they'll be like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?"
Run away.
It was interesting because I've been saying this since I moved here, and people are saying this to me now, is they're agreeing that the omnipotent, they are trying to keep us divided.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to keep talking. And now people are saying that to me. And when I end up chatting with these two young men, they were high. they were fabulous. But when they left and then we got off on the same stop, they said peace and love, and that's really neat. That's nice to hear.
I want to read you
out
when we hit a break here.
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, and then you can more than welcome to go on. I don't want to shut you down. I just acknowledge these other folks. Bob says no good deed goes unpunished. John says I tend to think we link those things to karma as a reason to explain them. Kennedy has.
I don't believe it.
Hmm?
I don't believe in karma.
I've got more comments here from Kennedy, but Kevin, what you were saying about what your belief system is, but you leave it open for more, I feel very, very similar, and I am actually eager for there to be more because of science. If science says energy and matter cannot be created or destroyed, only change forms, but the Big Bang came from somewhere. This is actually almost pointing at the finger of whatever deity or belief system you want to say, saying there's more than what we can conceive with the way our brains work currently. There is more. So I leave it open.
That's what
for
I
more.
believe.
But I
Yes.
just don't want to dicker over details, whether that detail is Buddhism versus Christianity or Baptist versus Episcopal. That's a waste of my time.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting about all the different religions when you come down to the fundamental of it, though, whether you're talking about Christianity or Buddhism or whatever, one of the central core beliefs that runs through every single one of those religions is be nice.
Mhm.
None of those religions are based around be an absolute wanker to everybody that you know. Go and piss on your neighbour's doorstep. Oh, it's Tuesday. It's time to go and shit through his mailbox. You know, it's peace, it's love, it's harmony, it's cooperation with fellow man. These elements are fundamental undercurrents of pretty much every religion ever on the face of the planet. Ed.
Oh, have you ever read the Old Testament?
Well, okay.
But the Jews are nice.
Yeah.
Andrea?
I just want to say, I think out of us, Kevin may be the only one tall enough to shit in somebody's mailbox.
No, UK mailboxes are the slot in the door. So mail
Whatever.
slot, not mailbox. By the way, okay, so Kennedy says, for whatever reason, Ray, call it fate, call it luck, call it karma. I believe everything happens for a reason. I believe that we're destined to get thrown out of this dump. Ghostbusters. FYI, I did create a group message between Elizabeth and Kennedy, so you can get the Horror Writer Association info to her. And Kennedy agrees with what you said, Elizabeth. Toei
Thank you, Kennedy.
says, I didn't want to insult, I didn't want to rudely insult New York City. Elizabeth took care of that for me. Then we're like, all kind of wanker, and then he's laughing at you, throwing bits for Ed. And Tempe, you out of here. You have a great night. We've got another hour. If you can't sleep, you know how to find us. Thanks for coming in.
Bye, Tempe.
A little
Bye.
bit physical.
Oh, I just wanted to say, before you go, Tempe, throw the link to your website so people can check it out after the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
All about spreading the positive energy.
Sorry, Elizabeth. Go ahead.
Are we getting close to the break? I don't
We've
know.
got 4 minutes till the break, and then we come back with the third hour where we get to talk guns.
We're spreading. He's spreading.
What are you doing, Kevin?
Just stretching. Spreading my positive energy.
Taint.
When I like going to the doctor's office, I like fucking with the nurses, and I don't breathe. I can just sit there and I can change my pulse rate. So I'll get there and I'll raise it as high as, it's about thinking and controlling it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just my own energy. And you read about Arnold Schwarzenegger when he pumps iron, when he did, in his heyday, he would talk about that. He would get very much into being present in your muscles. And I do that whenever I get massages. I get like therapeutic massages every once in a while. And I've had some masseuses stagger out of the room like, what the hell are you doing with your energy? Like, I am there in the muscle with them, and they say they get drunk off it. And then they can't sleep.
Also.
Yeah.
Except
so
in
there's
the
something to be said there.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I didn't hear it.
Except in the opposite direction, where I try to relax it and make sure I remove the energy from the area. I don't want it to be overly sensitized.
Right.
Whereas when getting massage...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you, yeah.
So yeah, there is... Moving your energy through your body is another interesting topic because... whether it's...
We are current. We forget we are electricity.
Mm-hmm.
We are
electromagnetic.
current. And there's a little electric rod you can get in the science kit I need to get with my class. And you hold hands and create a circuit, and you can feel the energy surging through each person.
Mm-hmm.
The energy work I was talking about, and I lay there, and I imagine pulling energy in the right hand and releasing kind of waste energy out of the left hand. So it's pulling it in, going through almost the whole circulatory system, and then going back out the other side to almost like an energy dialysis.
Mm.
But you've got to make sure the energy of your room is good. If you go into, here's a horrible place. Let me do this here. Yeah, well, you're pulling in pain.
It's true, Bob. Bob says, each day stop and try to think about nothing for 5 minutes. It's very difficult.
Except for
It
Bob,
is.
he's a natural.
Mm-hmm.
You can think about nothing?
Oh, hell yeah. Easily.
Okay, let's go into another refill break. Everybody, don't forget to use that share on the bottom if you're hanging out. Invite your Night Owl friends in to hang out with us for the last hour. And I sent it up on Facebook last time. I'm going to do Twitter this time. We'll be back in 5 minutes, and we may go on with this, may go on to gun culture in the U.S. So it's actually, Bob, a lot of us have practiced at that. So we'll be back. It's going to be a kitty cat refill break this time.
time for the roll call for our late night, inappropriate, slightly intoxicated, and very naughty music hour. This is where the faint of heart swoon, parents put children to bed, and things heat up and get steamy. So pour another drink and strap yourself in. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
I'm still muted. Yes, there was a lot of pussy licking in that video, and welcome back, Elizabeth. Nice to see you drop in.
Alright.
Now, have you guys been watching the cat video? Drink happy. There you go.
Drink happy.
No, I've been watching Bob and Des go back and forth.
Ouch, you kitties. That's why I was a little late.
There's times where I'm like watching a reaction. I'm like, were they reacting to the video? So I wasn't sure. Oh, let's see. Is there anything? I don't think anything pertinent needs read out loud here.
I don't know. That last comment was quite intriguing.
Not recommended?
No, it was the one mentioning about having been defibrillated whilst conscious.
Kennedy,
Not
electricity and energy. Have I mentioned I was once defibrillated? Defibrillated. Really, Travis?
Detribbulated.
What? Tribble? Anyhow, while conscious, I think I have. Toei says, love the cat videos. Thank you, Toei. Between that and the store ones, I just wanted more variety for our breaks and whatnot. So I pulled some stuff that I had put on YouTube and made them into 5-minute videos for our breaks. So. How you doing on your picture there, Elizabeth?
Horrible.
I
got busy talking.
Well, you had things to say here, and
the thing I have to say, and I'm not a professional chef, but when I enjoy what I do and I focus on it, I've even prayed over meals. I guess meditated in my art. I always, it always turns out better. It always is just somewhat amazing when I do that. And when I I don't let people cook angry. I chase them out of my kitchen. Like, no, don't cook angry.
Probably angry because you're fucking chasing them.
I want that pussy.
Kevin,
sir.
So the head chef that I've got the most respect for in terms of like guys I worked for, he used to have a rule in our kitchen. He used to say, if the stress of the service it's all getting too much for you and everything's starting to turn to shit, make sure there's nothing left on the heat where it's going to burn. Put everything down. Fuck all the tickets up on your rail. Go out the back of the kitchen and go and smoke a fag.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how long it takes you, 3, 4, 5 minutes. He said, and then come back and come at it with a fresh pair of eyes and walk back in with your shoulders back and your head up and go at it again. He said, I'd far rather you walked out and let service drop for 5 minutes and caused a 5-minute delay than you keep trying to push through once you're in that mindset where I'm fucked. He said, if it takes 5 minutes, it's going to take 5 minutes because you'll come back a different person and you'll be able to deal with the stress a lot better. And he was absolutely right. And I've seen that technique used time and time again to great effect. Andrew.
Cheers.
Yeah, sexy Kev.
We have a sexy Kev.
Can't hear you, baby.
Who is redeemed as sexy Kev?
Andrea, we can't hear you, sweetie.
Turn your mic on.
Oh, hey.
Is it not working?
It is.
There we go.
It said it was working on here. Mo redeemed a sexy Kev, and I asked Mo what they wanted you to say, and they said, ask Elizabeth. What do you want him to say, Elizabeth?
Oh.
Bob probably wants him to say cannoli.
So let's pick something else.
Oh, I got. Okay. Welcome to Talk at the Tavern, where dead men tell no tales.
Welcome to Talk of the Tavern, where dead men tell no tales.
Ooh, yeah, that was good.
Damn, I even felt some movement on that one.
Oh, fabulous.
You need to make that a video, Kevin.
Mark it.
I'm looking and I don't see where they have it. Oh, there it is.
Very, very sexually followed up by me munching on a jammy Dodger.
Like you should.
Mo cheered 100 bits for that. Says thanks, Kev.
We are the Borg. Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated.
No, you tried that. We rebelled.
Des asked, what do British women think of American accents? I had to wait till you put
Cannoli.
I'll read a comment while Kevin's pulling himself together. Kennedy said,
inopportune question to biscuit ratio there. Sorry. I think some British women find the American accent sexy. I think weirdly a lot of it has to do with how much drawl there is to it, if that makes sense. The more prolonged and drawn out the sound of the accent is, the less inclined they are to find it attractive. I don't know. I'm not putting my hand up as the spokesman for British women. It just, in my experience, in the vague discussions we've had about it, that seems to be the case. The flip side of the coin still bewilders me that so many American people seem to be so attracted to the British accent for some strange reason.
I've got a hard on right now.
different.
I think it's a two-way street. Yeah. Mine's a British accent anyway. I'm like the southern redneck version of the UK, some hick country farmer.
That's hot.
How y'all do?
Kennedy says, I only really work cooking in a simple chain type buffet places, but when I washed dishes in my youth, I was awed by chefs and how many things they could have going on at the same time. I have worked every aspect of a restaurant. So, yeah. Now, do we want to talk more, put our final thoughts on the topic, and move into the other topic that came up in that conversation of gun control and gun laws and gun culture?
Well, we can always mix them together, the positive and negative energies in.
I see what you did there.
Because you have the negative, of course, people going out shooting up whatever, like school shooters or in a crowd. But you also have the positive where people use the guns to hunt for food to provide.
Well, there's also, I'm positive Ed'll shoot your ass.
No. Maybe.
Not necessarily with a gun. You just got a cute. So, Kevin, you had some questions about American gun laws.
Okay, thank you. That's where I was going.
Yeah, because it is an odd situation, and it's something that comes up in conversation a lot when you talk about the differences between America and the UK. It's one of the first things anyone ever seems to throw up is the difference in gun ownership. And the British have this weird... there's nobody like a Brit in the world for finding some way of making themselves out to be some kind of self-sacrificing hero against the odds, the British bulldog spirit. And so you get British people going, well, I don't understand why Americans don't just get rid of all their handguns and stop ban gun ownership. We did it in Britain and we haven't had a serious school shooting yet. No, we haven't, because there were no fucking guns around to start with. It's not like before we had gun bans in the UK. We were all walking around with 3 or 4 pistols at home. Everyone owned a shotgun. No one was wandering around with fucking carbines and assault rifles. We didn't have access to those firearms. We didn't own them in the first place. a lot of the people who did own guns kept them at shooting clubs and stuff. So when the gun laws in Britain changed and they banned gun ownership and restricted it heavily, it didn't have anywhere near the impact that you would have trying to apply that same kind of scenario in Britain. And very few, in the US, sorry, and very few British people seem to be smart enough to have worked that out. So I think there's an enormous amount of ignorance on this side of the channel. Exactly what it's like in terms of why it's a hot button topic, if you like, to so many American people. We think it's far too cut and dried from our limited amount of knowledge we get spoon-fed over here, which is why I'm curious about it, because, as you know, I don't like to believe any shit that's spoon-fed to me. I like to understand it by talking to people who actually live it. So
here in the U.S., we're gluttons. We like to ladle it out in huge amounts instead of spoon-feeding it.
Yeah, we like to spread that shit deep.
Ed, keep to the gun topic, buddy.
Yeah.
And reset your camera. Your camera froze.
My camera froze?
Yeah.
I see. He's
okay for me. Yeah, he's okay for me.
Oh,
maybe you fucked up.
Oh, maybe.
You're screwed, Travis.
Well, I'm screwed. The whole show's going to go down.
Oh, now he's gone.
How about now, Travis?
Beautiful.
Okay.
One of the things that came up in that original conversation we had, that was that the night we had this weird, stupidly late night for me, amalgamated positive, negative energy gun law conversation that rambled all over the place.
It was the night of your disaster, wasn't it, Travis?
It was. I think it probably was. We talk about taking a negative situation and creating positivity out of it.
This line is anyway. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that surprised me was, I think we have this perception over here. We lack the perception of just how many guns there are in America. Yeah, Ed's got half of them. Yes, Ed.
Interesting enough, and I know this is the horror for a lot of people. No one really knows, but it's estimated there's somewhere between 270 to 320 million guns owned in America.
Yeah, it surprises me as well. Or it surprised me initially when I first found out about it, and we talked about this again in that conversation, how hard it would be to ever try and track down those guns. Now, the reason this is weird for British people is
I can answer that question only because it happened to me. When you go to purchase a firearm in the United States, yes, there is no registration per se, but you have to fill out a form. I don't remember the number. It's basically an affidavit where you say, I don't do drugs. I'm not a felon. I'm not currently under indictment for domestic violence. I am an American citizen, and other such questions along those lines. It's an affidavit. You sign your name to it. Depending on the state, there may be a second form that you fill out that's similar in the questions. And then there's a background check, instant background check done on you. Background check comes out fine. You can purchase that firearm that day. You walk out the store. So there is no registration. That original form, there's two forms. There's a state form, and there's that original form. They're basically the same damn form. That original form for the federal government stays with the store that you purchased the firearm. If that firearm is recovered in a crime, they go to the maker to the distribution center to the gun store that sold the gun. Oh, this was Ed Summers' gun, and they come knocking on your door. And I say that happened to me because several years ago I purchased a shotgun and I sold it. I happened to have sold it to an Alexandria police officer here in Virginia. 2 years later, I go on vacation. I come home. There's a message from the gun store that sold me the gun. Call us right away. I call them. The first thing the dude says is, what did you do with your shotgun? I'm thinking it's the current shotgun that I own that's sitting in my closet. I think somebody stole my fucking shotgun while I was on vacation. He's like, no, the Mossberg that you bought for us. Da 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 da. I was like, I don't know. I think I sold that to an Alexandria police officer. He's like, well, you better figure out who you sold it to because the ATF were just in here looking for it because it was used in a crime.
Right. No, okay. I've got a question about that, if I can. So, okay, I get the process when you go and buy a gun from a store.
Hmm.
Now, when you sell that gun to somebody else, is there a legal obligation to keep a record of that sale?
There's not, and that's the thing that's upsetting to a lot of anti-gunner people here in
Yeah.
the United States, because I can sell it to anybody. There is no legal obligation. However, in the instance of mine, since I could say, this is the cop I sold it to, go talk to him.
Yeah.
It
So
takes the pressure off of me.
Yeah,
Now,
because you can give them this link in the chain, as it were.
right. Now, in Virginia, I can't speak for every state in the union, but in Virginia, what I can do if I want to sell a gun to somebody, I can usually go down to my local gun store, pay them $20. They'll do the background form in that instant check. And so that's out of my name. It's completely out of my name now.
I gotcha. Okay.
It's a smart thing to do. I'll pay the $20 to do that, especially if I'm selling a gun that's worth $400. Okay, I'll pay the $20 to do that.
Yeah.
But you can't, hang on. You can't just walk into any state and buy a gun. Some states you have to be a resident.
You have to be a resident of that state, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So there's a bunch of limitations.
So I think
state to state.
Because
Right.
Yes.
certainly what I remember of when some people did have guns before the British gun laws changed, there was a very rigid registration process, and also you were required to register if you then sold that firearm on. So there was an immediate paper trail stored with the government. So if a gun changed hands, they knew at any given moment where any particular gun was. So I think that's one of the things people don't appreciate about America, is that theoretically, from the moment that gun was bought X years ago, it could theoretically have passed through 20, 30, 50, God knows how many pairs of hands, making it virtually impossible for the police to ever link that to who actually is in possession of it now. So in theory, you could argue that there are all of these hundreds of thousands of guns out there, and no one has any idea where they are until they crop up for whatever reason. That I think is something that most British people don't understand when they throw out blasé comments like, "Oh, we'll just ban all guns." How the fuck are you going to find them? You've got no clue who's got them, and America is not a small country. the effort, the manpower it would take to try and find all the guns in America and take them away is beyond all human reasoning. It's a fucking ridiculous concept.
As I've mentioned on the show before, I'm probably the most conservative one here. I'm very pro-gun. I know Elizabeth also is very pro-gun. And I know it's a cliche, but at 320 million firearms owned, if guns were a problem, we would really, really know it, wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you have a good point. Yeah.
And it's interesting because in Britain, and it's not just Britain, it's New York, it's America, it's all around. There's slowly becoming a problem of people using vehicles as instruments of mass murder.
It's happened here.
Are we going to now start saying, nobody can drive now? There are... Just interesting. I don't want to go too deep into this. I'm drawing, so just... I know they're doing a ban on knives, right, Kev? They're starting to watch knives in London?
I don't know about it in London. Certainly, it's been the law for quite some time in this country that it's illegal to carry any knife with a blade longer than 3 inches.
Yeah, and I thought I just read an article. It happened to someone here.
You're also not allowed to carry any kind of lock knife, any blade with a knife with a blade that locks out, unless it's in a locked toolbox and you have a reason for carrying it. Or you take one fishing with you or something like that, but you've got to keep it in a box. You can't just be wandering around with a knife in your pocket.
We just had a guy in Jersey get caught for carrying knives, and he's a chef.
Yeah.
And they were in his tool thing, and they still called him on it.
If it's obvious it's a set of chef knives, in this country, you're more likely to get a rap over the knuckles and a bollocking from whichever PC's pulled you over than you are to get nicked for it. But you should be carrying them around in a proper chef's roll or a knife case or something like that. If you've just got a bunch of chef's knives loose in the bottom of a holdall strolling down the street, you've got a much harder time of trying to argue your case. If you're being sensible and there's a contextual reason for you to be carrying them, you'd get away with it, but it's they wouldn't encourage you to just carry them around in your backpack all day, would you?
Well, it wasn't the knives; it was his wife's severed head in the carry bag.
Oh yeah, that could raise some suspicion there. Yeah, I can see that.
Well, at least he had a reason for carrying them.
Always the reason carrying a blade, Travis. They said in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels: guns for show, knives for a pro.
There we go.
Guns for show and knives for a
pro. There's a line. The guy who says the line in the film is a chef as well.
Go ahead, Travis. You have.
I'm looking at the comments here.
Okay.
I've deliberately not been looking.
Ian started with, we recently passed a gun law in my hereabouts allowing semi-auto rifles for hunting. Not happy about that at all. Talking to you.
Follow-up question on that before you go through the rest of the comments. Ian, is there still a capacity limit, or you can have a 20-round, 30-round mag? I'm just curious about that. I'm sorry, Travis, to go on.
And I'm sure he'll respond by the time I get to the bottom. There are a lot of comments.
Right.
Wynn says, let's see, that's 1,000. Like 300 million USA. Des says the background check can take seconds or days. Toei says 25 bits for Mossberg. That's my brand. Bob says you can take my gun from my cold dead hands. Kennedy says I haven't bought a firearm in many years, decades, but we really are the United States. It varies. And driver's licenses are the same. It's state to state. Des says you have to be a resident of almost every state to purchase a handgun. And by that he means
pretty much, yeah.
A resident of the state you're purchasing in. That's law in almost every state.
Unless you're military.
Okay. Ian says, I was raised an ethical hunter, meaning that most game are already at a disadvantage against an experienced hunter. Adding to that advantage is overkill. Can't we take the game you're hunting with not more than 2 or 3 shots? It wasn't meant to be. Des throws 100 bits for revolvers. Ian asks Des, wheel guns are my favorite, he says. Bob says, Oklahoma shooter taken out by 2 civilians with CCW handguns.
Yep.
And Kennedy says, in New Jersey, BB guns are considered firearms.
I have a question. What's a CCW handgun?
Concealed carry weapon.
Gotcha.
And actually, because Oklahoma is so strict on concealed carry, they weren't carrying concealed. They actually went to their vehicles and got their firearms and shot the guy who was about to shoot up this restaurant.
Okay.
Something else said earlier.
Ian, some places paintball guns are considered firearms, aren't allowed to be carried. They have to be carried just like you would any other weapon. So it varies state to state.
Yeah. It's the same in this country. Any kind of replica gun that's authentic enough to represent a real gun, the penalties for carrying it in public are nearly as severe as if you were carrying the genuine art.
This is part of the reason I encourage people who are into steampunk, be careful how you paint your weapons. It might be a Nerf gun.
I was going to say, plus, of course, plus the side risk that SO19 are going to tap you twice in the head because they think you're about to take a shot at someone before you get a chance to explain it's a water pistol. Yeah.
The interesting thing here on this, and it's I got mixed feelings on it. Everybody's painting, not everybody, but they're starting to paint police in a bad light here. It used to be at one time, if a cop shot a kid with a BB gun that looked real enough, it was a justifiable shoot. Now they're starting to question every little thing on a cop, and it's like he doesn't know when to defend himself and when not to defend himself. Now, I don't know. It's crazy. I remember reading a story a couple years back about a cop in Alabama, I think it was, that literally, oh, damn, Elizabeth.
What?
You go, girl. but anyway, a cop in Alabama a couple years back that literally got the crap beat out of him by a suspect because he was afraid to defend himself. That's crazy.
It is crazy. That's insane.
So what about the rise in school shootings? Has there been a rise, guys? We're hearing about them a lot more, that's for sure. Every week there's another one.
Is that firearms related or discipline related?
I think we're just hearing about it more because of everybody wants to ban guns. It's happened a lot in the past few years. We're just hearing about it more now, I think.
I think that with anything like this, with any kind of seeming trend, you do have to ask a lot these days. Is it genuinely happening more than it used to? Or is it just that social media is putting it in easy reach of your eyes more often? And is there a reason someone wants that? Like you say, whether the agenda is someone wants guns banned or whatever it is, and not just talking about guns, with any kind of major social topic these days, you have to be able to stop and question it a little bit, I think.
Yeah, because it may be covering up something worse, and they're trying to draw your attention to this. Say, look over here, not over
It's the
here.
classic ta-da smack, yeah.
Because it's not the first time it would happen. It's
Actually,
happened several times.
Beat me. I don't have these statistics. I had looked them up earlier. I forgot this was the show tonight. I'm sorry. Actually, school shootings have been on the rise since Columbine. The first school shooting is something like 1789, something like that. People like to talk the flintlock thing. Well, the first school shooting a guy did commit with a flintlock. And when you consider the size of a classroom in 1789 and the size of a classroom now, because they like to play the numbers game, was probably about the same percentage dead.
And by the way, Columbine was 19 years ago.
Yeah.
Jeez. Wow.
April 20th, 1999.
Wow, it's always April.
I'm just watching the drawing. This is great.
Ian says no capacity limits established yet, fingers crossed. Kennedy says one of the problems with police and handguns is that once a firearm is pulled, it's a deadly weapon as opposed to a nightstick or tonfa. Toei says school problems used to be solved by scuffles on the playground, broken up by responsible adults. Now we're so litigious and avoidant, everyone is terrified of taking any disciplinary action, and the problems fester into real violence. Elizabeth, you want to speak to that about not being able to?
I do. And, yes, there's going to be more school shootings. There's more people. There's a billion more people, they say, every year, every 2 years on the planet or something crazy like that. And I truly believe that it's I really believe accountability is a huge thing. And I think the failing of the family is the biggest thing, I believe. And I use an example. There's a mother, she shows up at school today. This mother is a large woman. She's my height, and you look at her, and she's kind of got the one eye going, and she's crazy, okay? She's crazy. She's had a run-in with me, and I just don't give her any energy. Just take this wind out of her sails. She shows up today. There's a standard rule in school. There's no candy allowed in school, thank God, because children on sugar is not good, especially volatile children. And she shows up to pick children up with an enormous container of sugar bubble gum and hands it out. And these kids are scooping it out by handfuls. Number one, we don't even know who this person is, really, and whether or not she's actually giving them candy or candy laced with something. Number two, she's not controlling it at all, not giving everyone one. She's letting children take handfuls. And my three, it's against school policy, and she does it anyway.
Ed, you had something to say?
So when we get back, if I can tie it back to the energy, it's accountability. You can't just sit back and say the world's a mess, all this school shooting is horrible, and I'm just going to go live my life. If it bothers you that much, be the change. Make a change. Be the leader. Join your service organization. Become a part of the community. Become a mentor to students, to these kids that need a parent. Get involved. That's what I say.
Ian, when I say capacity limits, I don't mean in general. I'm not sure if I clarified that. Is there a capacity limit for hunting? For instance, in Virginia, even for shotgun, you're limited to just 4 or 5 shots. That's what I'm saying. So semi-automatic for hunting in Pennsylvania, are you still limited to 4 or 5 shots, or can you just load up to a full 30-round magazine? Just curious.
So do you think because kids can't fight it out in the schoolyard, on the playground after school, that we're seeing a rise in gun violence because there's no other outlet for their violence?
A little, maybe, but I did want to expand on what Elizabeth was saying. Unless Andrea has something to say, I'll let her go first.
I was going to say, with that, because schools have cut so many programs and they don't allow the kids to do a lot of things they used to get the energy out or to have, something to look forward to. I think that might be some of the problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know we've heard it, we've seen it on social media, okay, and I'm here to attest to it tonight. When I was a kid growing up in rural Virginia, it ended sometime during my years in high school. It was nothing to see during hunting season, the rifle or the shotgun in the back of the kid's truck on the school grounds. We did not have school shootings back then. Now, growing up in rural Virginia, we didn't have a whole lot of programs either, but we did go out on the fucking football field, baseball field, soccer field, and beat it out when we had a beef with one another.
You had programs in real life as opposed to school there. You still did things as a group. You got the kickball game together, the softball game together, the football in somebody's front yard.
The dodgeball.
This is also before all the social media and the internet, where kids, instead of actually interacting with each other face to face, they did it online. And
absolutely, yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
There's something else I wanted to say on exactly that topic as well. It's not just the fact that they're not learning how to deal with each other face to face because they're online all the time. When I was a kid and you were at school, there might be one or two people you didn't get on with in your year. People that you continually had run-ins with, whether they were physical or not.
Mm-hmm.
These days, you post one innocuous comment on social media somewhere, you can have 30, 40, 50, however many kids, all of a sudden, all on this thread, all giving you shit. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure to heap on someone who's not yet attuned to dealing with conflict in the modern world, especially because they're not used to dealing with it face to face.
That's a lot of pressure to heap
all of a
on
sudden,
me.
Yeah.
There's a reason I don't post.
And I think a lot of
things. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think a combination of a lot of all of these things, it makes horrible outbursts, whether it's a school shooting or some other kind of violent explosion of emotion and anger from a human being, more likely that we've generated a society whereby these events are more likely to happen. That's why we're seeing the rise in it, I think.
And we're not even talking about the over medicationing of these children and how many are on these pills. They're not just on Ritalin. They start on kindergarten and they're on Ritalin all the way through high school.
I mean, why?
You can't take anything and not have it have an effect on you. No, tell me why.
Schools get money for every child that are on these medications, and the nurse has to administer them during the school day. I found this out.
Well, what about the teachers? Don't we get medicated?
They do on the train on the way home, from what you say.
That's after you get home, or the bar on the way, or yeah. And then you get labeled an alcoholic and you lose your job.
Yeah. You share one margarita with a kid. One margarita.
Kennedy, Elizabeth, do you want to tell real quick what your association with the school system is?
I teach specialty after school programs about some are about filmmaking, screenwriting. I do even some engineering classes, so that's what I do. Public school.
Okay.
And that day I sent you that video where I said I would do anything but teach these kids. This is a sad. I don't want to drink too much. I don't want to drink too much.
We understand it's hard to take a group of children that you're legally disallowed any control over, any disciplinary action, even to the point of correcting their grammar.
No. What it was for me was, they're going to give me a runaround because I'm an after-school teacher, so, I'm not really one they have to deal with. And so, they try to bully me, but I can handle that, no problem, what it was it was in the auditorium where they have stuck the music teacher, and she's been struggling, and she's so frustrated. She's retiring 2 years early. She's done. She says the children this year have gotten to a point she's done. There were 5 different classes in the auditorium prepping for the final school presentation. Maybe, I think maybe a quarter of them were singing the song she had projected, and it was a cute little song, something soft, and the rest were talking. And I don't mean talking as in, hey, they were turning their backs to her and yelling, and it was this roar, just roaring through. I could spot all of the teachers in charge of these classes, and they were doing nothing to help this music teacher, to calm the kids down. Nothing.
My hands twitching.
Yep.
I'm sat here listening to you. My hands twitching. I'm like,
and that's when I made that film, because the whole system, they have given up on these kids, and they don't stand a chance.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question for Kevin.
Real quick, hello to Love Raping Kids. Glad to see you here.
Go. Cool. Hey,
thanks for following. Question for Kevin.
Kevin, Britain, you have strict gun laws there. What few guns there are owned, am I correct? There's clubs. You have to go to the club, sign out your gun, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Okay. As a Brit, and you probably get more truth of what's going on in our country than we do here. What do you think is...
I'm going to ban that person.
Okay.
I just realized their name is Love Raping Kids.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, okay. Go on.
That's fine. What do you think? What do you think we're crazy? You think we're nuts? You think?
I don't. I mean, we've touched on this subject many times on the show, and maybe it's because of that. Maybe it's because I'm the kind of inquisitive person. Like I said, I don't take anything at face value. This is why I ask these questions, because I like to understand what I'm talking about. Otherwise, I don't feel the right to have an opinion on it. I wouldn't say I know everything about the situation, but I think you're not nuts at all, and I understand why guns have become such an integral part of American culture. And I think you're at the point now where there are so many of these weapons out there, that so many people own them, that so many people feel threatened by other people who own them, that they feel the need to own one themselves for the purposes of protection, that talking about banning guns is a concept that I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but that seems impossible to me from an outsider's perspective of America. They're so intrinsically worked into your culture, and there's so many of them, that you just couldn't do it. You couldn't create the kind of organization, the manpower that's required to do it. Where I think maybe the solution lies is looking at keeping a closer record of a chain of custody, if you like, so making guns easier to trace, and being more thorough checking into the history of people who are buying guns. I don't think the issue is the guns. It's how accessible they are and how difficult it is to keep them out of the hands of people who are likely to use them for purposes they're not designed for.
Agreed.
That's the problem. How you achieve that with so many weapons in circulation, that's something I couldn't even begin to scratch the surface of,
Stop being a fucking realist, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it sucks, doesn't it? This whole thinking things through logically, yeah. But
there's comments too.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay,
Kennedy from 5 minutes ago said, but I agree, there are kids who are on social media that are brutalized. Skipper says we used to carry our own meds and just pull them out and take them whenever it was time. Kennedy then says, yes, my son is really smart but had issues with writing quickly. He's going way, way deep into analyzing things like Animal Farm. Great book, by the way. And they wanted him to test it. But one of the people who reviewed his writing asked, he wrote this? Yes.
That's a sign of intelligence.
I would have given him a high schooler an A for this analysis. He was in 7th grade. I needed someone to help him get thought to paper. They wanted him tested because money.
Yeah.
Couple new ones.
Okay, here's a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Okay, I teach kids. Okay, marinate them in love and beat the evil out of them. We give kids computers, access to computers, We don't pay attention to them, and then we're all shocked
Mhm.
when they're horrible to each other, and when they bully each other and act like total assholes. We're all shocked. Yes, because you have to be present in their lives every step of the way. Wake up, parent your children. And if you can't, then don't give them a phone to run around, or give them a flip phone. Don't let them just be on the computer without any guidance.
And if you can't, stop having more kids.
Oh,
Yes.
people never figure out that formula.
Children are becoming just another asset in our disposable on-off society, aren't
Yep.
they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I'm bored with this game. I'll close the app and flip another one up. I can't be bothered to watch TV now. I'll TiVo it. I'll watch it later. Everything's now on demand when you want it, and flick it off again when you don't. And people are starting to treat their kids the same way. Oh, I'm at home. I've got half an hour and I'm bored as fuck. I'm going to talk to my child. Oh, I've got something I'd rather be doing. Childminder, childcare. So I farmed off to the education system. I expect you to do all the work raising my child for me. I've got better things to do. I've got level 183 on Candy Crush to get past.
But on that same note, they don't want to raise their kids, but they don't want other people teaching.
It's interesting what Kevin just said, a half an hour, because local radio station that I listened to about a month ago, that was one of the trivia questions, was you spend about 30 minutes doing this a week, not even a day, a week. And the answer was associating with your kids.
No wonder my kids don't want to be here, because I do a lot more than a half hour a week. Fuck, leave me alone. Couple more comments. Bob cleverly says England was the main reason for us to feel entitled to own guns. Thanks, Kev.
I like to come back to that too.
Okay.
You're welcome, Bob.
And we will. Ian says, my brother's wife asked us what the hell we did before the internet. Her eyes just kept getting bigger and bigger as we told her what we did. She'd been raised, sheltered, and protected, so our childhood adventures had her wondering how we're still alive. That would be jumping stumps with a bike. That would be wandering through the woods, hitting things with sticks. That would be throwing rocks at each other for fun. The other kids did that. So anyhow, Bob cleaning his gun. Des wants to know which one. Bob says a Seiko 30-06 bolt action. Did I pronounce that right? Seiko? Sacco?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now somebody else had a comment, and I forget which one of you guys it was. Kevin?
It was me. I wanted to come back to the thanks, Kev, that Bob said, because I know in one of the things in the conversation that was going on that I missed, and you guys were having this conversation, was the gun culture thing in America today. And I think getting back to the show that we had about the Constitution, I do truly believe that our forefathers felt like our freedom was earned through the barrel of a gun.
Yeah.
And we would keep it through the barrel of a gun. I truly believe they intended for every citizen to have the ability to do that.
I agree with you. Yeah, I'm sure Bob made the comment half in jest, but he's actually completely right. And yes, I do think that you can trace the creation of gun culture in America to the moment of the creation of America. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it is so literally enmeshed and entrenched into everything it is to
Part
be
of our
American.
of our flag.
Yeah, exactly. So there's you're always going to get extremists on every side of the argument, but anybody who thinks logically that you can ban guns in America hasn't stopped, to my opinion anyway, from an outsider's point of view. You've really not stopped and thought about this for very long, because it's not just the physical complexity of gathering all those guns in. It's the complexity of convincing an entire American psyche that it's acceptable to remove part of what created and it means to be American in the first place.
I'm one of those. I admit it. I'm one of those.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. What I'm saying is that people don't appreciate sometimes, I think, just how integral it is to a lot of people's perception of what it is to be American. Whether it's because you enjoy owning a gun or because the gun was what created the country you now have the freedom to live in, they're linked to every American in some way or another. Not that us British can talk.
Now, okay, Kevin, I don't know. You're how old?
I'm 42.
Okay, so I don't
Yeah, sweet.
I don't really know how much you remember, but I remember reading when British people had to get rid of their so-called assault weapons.
Hmm.
They could either have them lead filled, have the barrel lid filled, and make it basically a non-gun, or they could have it destroyed. Do you remember much of that? I mean, I don't remember. Okay.
1986 or 7. I mean, I was only a youngish kid, but
Now,
that was
were those firearms at the times that they had in their homes, or those were still someplace where you had to go to check out the firearm in order to be able to?
There might have been one or two in private collections.
Okay.
It's not like you still wouldn't have found a widespread ownership of those kind of weapons like you would today in America. The triggering event for that, if I'm historically accurate, is a guy called Michael Ryan, who used an assault rifle in a town called Hungerford, and caused what was essentially pretty much the first, if not the first, then the first for a very long time, a mass killing with a firearm in the UK, and the public seized upon it in such a way, and there was such an uproar across the country, such a single driving sort of social consciousness behind it, that I think the legislators at the time passed those laws simply because they felt it was the only way to appease this huge tide of anger amongst the British public. So yeah, I remember it, even though I was only fairly young. I mean, I'd have been like 10 or 11, I think, something like that. But when it was in the news, it was all over the news, and it was big news for several weeks. Not just the event and the tragedy that unfolded after it, but the subsequent discussion of it, and eventually the changing the laws and stuff. It was a very big issue at the time.
Andrea, you're sitting here looking like Ed usually does. Any question at all about guns?
No, I'm just looking at the chat, and I wanted to say, Ian said to Kevin, the government pays you to have kids. And they do. It's like the more
US.
kids you have, the more money they give you.
In the
in
US,
the US.
yeah.
The US.
There's a certain element of that in this country, although again those laws are starting to change because of social pressure at the moment. But there has, for a while, I think, been this kind of a dumbing down of our culture where we call them dole bums. I'm sure there's an equivalent American term, but basically people who just sponge off welfare because they can't be asked to get a job, so they just keep pumping out children, create extra child benefits.
Here's the thing with that. When people try to get off of it, it's made difficult. It's instead of giving people a boost up, the government they just keep them down, so they just give up, and it's easier just to do nothing than to try.
Do you want to give examples of how they kept down, Andrea? Do you want to keep examples, or do you want to give examples of how they're kept down?
I can give it a personal example because I needed help years ago. I made $5 too much a month. They cut me off of all the help, and my kid needed insurance, and I couldn't afford it through work at the time. There's so many examples. That's just one.
We have the same thing in the UK, and it's been in the news a lot, especially over the last couple of years. We've had this Conservative government who recently have had this austerity drive. We've all got to cut back. We've got to financially bring this country stronger and more stable. Fuck you, Theresa May, for that phrase. We see exactly the same thing here now, where they're kind of withdrawing all this money, cutting back on all these services, claiming that they can't afford it, and it's having this real sort of immediate negative effect on everything. They make it so difficult for you to get out of the rut once you've fallen into it.
Well, see, I was working a lot, and all I needed was help for a few more months until everything got kicked in and I can get on my feet. No. They would always go before taxes, which that's fine, but because my income was $5 over the limit, it just knocked me down, and that put me further behind. So I understand where people come from. It's easier not to try to better yourself because they'll knock you down for it, and you're
There have
further
been
in the
people in
hole.
this, there have been people in this country who had all of their funding cut off because they were 5 minutes late for an interview, not a job interview, just an interview to discuss their benefit claim. There's this culture of ridiculously harsh impositions and sanctions on people for seemingly minor infractions as a way of removing. I mean, even if you stop someone's money for a couple of weeks, that's 2 weeks' money the government hasn't had to pay you. And that's what it's all about. It's penny pinching. It's people trying to line their pockets by taking money away from the poor. Scandals.
Go ahead,
I'm
Travis.
not supporting people who live on welfare, but
Real quick, Kennedy says the problem I have with the government and politicians is they talk about how much they spend instead of how well it is spent.
Right, exactly,
Yes.
completely. I think sympathizing with Andrea, there's people that play the system and they just get more and more and more and more and more. And there's people that want to live within the system, but they still need just a little bit of help. And the government says, oh, you make $5 too much, so we're cutting you off completely.
By the way,
What about these motherfuckers over here that are just playing the system and getting more and more and more?
And that was one paycheck that went over, that pushed her over. That
Yeah,
wasn't
one
like,
paycheck.
she got a raise.
It
and
wasn't
working
like
the
all the time. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I didn't have a car at the time. I did not have a cell phone. I barely had a house phone, and in order to get to my appointments, I had to ride a bus for 2 hours. So I was trying, but yeah.
Interesting fact: when FDR created the public assistance system that is now morphed into welfare, it wasn't intended to pay people to stay home. It was intended to help people to get back on their feet until they could make a decent living. It's turned into something totally different today than what he intended for it to be. Yeah.
It has. And it'd be really simple to take some people who enter the program and go, well, we're going to put you in school for childcare. And now we have a core of childcare people who can take care of the kids of the other people who really do want to work but can't afford to because they can't afford the gas back and forth, the public transportation, the clothing to work in some cases. So
we've almost got to a point in some cases where the culture is now existing that it's not just making it hard for people who are claiming money to get back onto their feet. It's tempting people who are working to give it all up and go and do the same thing.
Oh, hell, I've thought of it.
I'd go out, bust my balls for 15, 16 hours a day. I come home to my small house, my small TV. Okay, it's enough for me. I don't need any more than that. But then when I go around to a mate's house or something, and we go and visit his friend or something, and his friend's unemployed, hasn't worked in 6 years, he's got a fuck-off great 65-inch home cinema TV, an Xbox, a PlayStation 4, and the guy doesn't work, you can't out thinking, you're a cunt.
And he's always got illegal drugs that you're like, how do you afford it? Or even just legal. He's got a full liquor cabinet.
Of course he has. Why do you think we've gone to his house?
It's, let's see here. Kennedy says, tax me, but spend it well. I pay a lot, and I'm like, why the fuck is this person not getting social service when they tax me tens of thousands and my house is crappy? Toei says, we need the CCC revived so people could work repairing their crumbling. I had a whole plan for that, Ed. You probably remember my platform to run for president where it was rebuilding our infrastructure and creating jobs and housing at the same time, all in one fell swoop. We are 5 minutes till the end of the show. We can go longer if everybody wants.
I just got a quick question to Bob. You built an AR-15. When the fuck are we going shooting?
I've got a question about guns, Ed.
Go ahead.
When I come to America, which one do I get to fire first?
You take your pick, man. You want long range, medium range, or short range? I got it all.
Yes, all of the above.
I just okay. Jamin Skipper says Cabbage Patch Kids come with a birth certificate, so you should try claiming them on your taxes.
Oh man, great idea.
Yeah.
John says he'll lend a M1. So you want to go out with the M1?
Is that an M1 carbine or M1 Garand?
That's a gun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's two different guns. One shoots a 30 caliber short round, and the other one shoots a 30 caliber long round.
It'll make a difference. So,
Roughhead, yes. I apologise for the use of the C word. No, I don't. What am I talking about? I never apologise. I'm a cunt. And yes, you are right. It has far more contextual impact in America, which is why I try to be a good Brit and only pepper my conversation with it lightly, like a little soupçon of seasoning, rather than smashing you in the face with the house.
so when you do that, do you drop the cunt down your forearm?
You salt.
There you go.
A light sprinkling of cunt is normally enough.
Ed, Grant.
Grant. Oh, awesome.
Okay, so once again, I'm asking, do you want to extend the show? I don't have a problem with it.
I'm going to back
if
out
we-
because I work all day tomorrow.
Okay, Kevin's out. Andrea,
If we do, I need a break because I've had 5 bottles of water.
Ed,
Yeah, I did.
I would say viewers, y'all want to hang out and talk guns or whatever, children some more, or
and Elizabeth, what's your thought?
Children with guns.
I can hang out for a while.
Okay,
Best gun for shooting children.
so it's up to the viewers. Do a quick poll here. Stay or go is good enough. Drop the word stay or go. And we get a handful of stays, we'll hang out a little longer. But we are going to say goodnight to Kevin. I'm going to run a refill video. We'll come back and either shut the show down or keep rolling, depending what you guys posted. Kevin, thank you.
I'll say
My first love was a 356 Magnum, and I had my eyes open, and I saw this big orange flame coming out of it, and there's barely a kick because it's such a massive gun to shoot.
was
Yeah,
that a 356 or a 357?
7 Magnum.
Okay.
all right. Good night, everyone.
Good
Have
night.
fun.
Good night, Kevin.
Sleep well. See you
Night,
tomorrow.
Take
Kevin.
care.
Okay, like I said, Bob, Kennedy, Des, if you're still here, Toey, Skipper, Lady
We have
Skipper,
14
John,
people watching right now,
etc.
so
And if any
Yeah,
of you
we'll
folks
hang out
here-
if they want to stay.
Yeah, if you want to stay, throw stay in the chat. If you want to go, type go. That way we don't talk to ourselves. We could do that later. Okay, here's a refill break. We'll come back and we'll figure it out. Ooh, what am I going to play? Let's do this.
Tiny vocals.
Good night. I'm all.
Tiny
Yeah, baby. I'll be right back. I hate it when I get blue balls. Carefree, free as the blood flows. I gotta go. Look, Casper is outrageous comfort. Ah! This is outrageous. So I have a black friend, and now I have colored buds. It's like an entrapment ad on Craigslist. Hey, can we get me some creepers?
Don't you mean sneakers?
No, I mean creepers. Creepy shoes. You know, there's some brand names that just don't inspire confidence. We all know, Star-Kissed and Armor. But what about Critter brand pulled pork? I don't know if I'm trusting that one. I like my women like I like my crosswords. Big and easy. Volume 11. The opinion of somebody who is retarded-hearted. Genius party game. Dart shots. That's right. You put shot glasses right underneath where you're throwing metal-tipped things. Great for drunks. Look, I found deep tissue foam roller. Look, I want to show you something. See him? Little Woody's nuts. These nuts. I don't even know how to make a joke out of this. So we got eats, which is like tech speak, and then it's cock and nuts. Eat cock's nuts. Tail pea? Cocktail pea? Cocktail peanuts? So I remember the first time. Look at those little hips go.
Elmo is one ticklish monster.
Press his foot. One more time.
What part?
He's young. Oh my god, oh my god. Don't drop it, Andrea. For whoever this applies to, love must be fabulous. You ever felt
like a sandwich. I found it's a flamingo dancer. I wish more people would bring this in the shower with them. And a lot of my problems. You should wash your ass and protect it from odor with Kraken Guard. Worst date ever. First impressions mirror. First impressions are so important. Just want to let you know that in the shower, every man jacks.
Lip smacker.
So my girlfriend broke up with me on Valentine's Day by giving me this.
Hey, pussy.
She can't hear you. See that? Grill power. Grill power. Look, it's polishing charcoal. I wonder if I could use that on my...
Okay, guys, welcome back to what might be the 4th hour. Looks like we have one stay. Towie's out of here. Have a good night. Ian's out of here. All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon. And no other response. Y'all ain't helping. Kennedy had all that shit to say, but he can't type one word. Come on. Where's John?
Kennedy, are you still here, Kennedy?
Where's Bob? Where's Bob? Talks shit all night. Kennedy said
maybe they had to go potty too. They went potty. They'll be back.
It takes them a little longer.
Okay. We got a few hanging out, so we can at least rattle on until we. Hola.
Yeah, until they drop down to like 5, then we'll go, because that's us. Kennedy wants to know, well, I'm sure knows, but wants me to explain the difference between a clip and a magazine. A clip, you put the rounds in, and the entirety of the rounds fit up into the gun. Well, I guess I can't really say that because the magazine does too. But
a clip looks like a metal strip that you slide the back of the
right.
bullet.
It looks like a clip.
Fucking stick up out of it like it's just a little shelf for it.
Right. A magazine is actually a box that you put the rounds in and you stick up in the magazine. So
yeah,
you stick up in the weapon. So here you go.
So and Bob says nice gams, Elizabeth.
Aren't they?
Thank you.
It's so
it's hot in my attic.
That's because you're there, baby.
How hot is it?
It's so hot that I'm wearing my gams.
I'm going to guess that Kennedy is a little bit of a purist, and I have to admit I'm a purist in that respect. I hate it when somebody calls a magazine a clip. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I cringe every time I hear it.
Well, usually it means it's because they're uneducated, and you have a chance to educate them at that point in time. And I could be wrong here, but I don't, if I'm not mistaken, we don't see a lot of clips nowadays.
No. Unless it's an M1 Garand. That's one of the few that still fires clips these days.
I have a 30-06 it takes one, but that's not something that's...
it just may be, because isn't that British rifle, the 30-06 that you have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
It's so yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of times in my life where I have misspoken that because I didn't know. I didn't know the difference. I thought they were interchangeable, and in the 70s to 80s, when you started getting more magazines and less clips, it just kind of became a universal term for people who don't know. But then again,
and I really hate it when I hear people say 22 caliber shotgun.
Kennedy says, sometimes gun enthusiasts go nutty when this is messed up in fiction. Kennedy, I have turned to Ed and went, Ed, I want you to read my story just to make sure I have the terminology correct. Yes, Andrea?
Okay. It's not a 22 caliber shotgun. What's the correct term? Nothing.
Shotguns are in gauges. It's usually 10, 12, 20, Yeah, they're gauges. They're not calibers.
So you have a 12 gauge shotgun, but a 22 caliber
Gotcha.
rifle. And also, don't call
Okay.
your shotgun a rifle. They get cranky about that.
What's the difference?
Ed, do you want to explain the difference between a shotgun and a rifle?
I mean, I'm serious. I don't know this.
Shotguns fire a big bore shell. The normal ammunition out of them is multi. It's several beads or pellets or sort of. They can fire what's called a slug, but normally you would fire a casing out of them that has 6, 9, 12, several beads of pellets in it.
Like buckshot and stuff?
Yes.
There you
Okay.
go.
You have
You
those
got
plastic red tubes with just the brass on the bottom. That's a
yes, and
shotgun
Kennedy
shell.
has mentioned there's no rifling in a shotgun.
Oh, that's another thing. The
What
reason
is
a
rifling?
There you go.
There's in a handgun and regular rifles, there's grooves cut in the barrel. When you pull the trigger, the bullet goes out of the barrel, and it makes the bullet spin. That keeps it more level, straighter, and accurate.
Like a
In
football.
a shotgun, you don't have that effect.
That's why they say you rifle the football down the field. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, they do say they shotgun it. But, anyhow.
I don't know.
John, what do you got? The calibers.
Rifling hasn't always been there, Andrew. That came with the development of a gun. In fact, at the museum in Richmond, the Southern Museum, the Confederate Museum, I don't know if it's still there, they actually have like the first sniper rifle, and the confirmed kills with it, and it doesn't have rifling.
It's in Richmond?
Back in those days, it was called smoothbore, was what it was called in those days.
But can you imagine the shot, the ability to shoot that? I can't imagine seeing that far.
And by the way, Andrea, all these things we've just spoke about, I can show you right back here.
Yeah, you can.
Well,
yeah.
I remember when you and Aaron were, doing head gun cleaning, and he showed me. So I remember what the barrel looks like now.
Right. So, and John did type out a description there that might help too.
Yeah.
A good little technical description. Or copy pasted it straight out of Wikipedia. We don't know. But either way, it's the information there. There's no typos. There we go. It doesn't matter. The information is still there.
That works.
So, yeah, and it's just a matter of education. And at one point in time, this was an education, a portion
that was taught in schools.
Well, again, depends where you are. I'm sure New York City didn't necessarily have classes on this back in the day, but
actually, in the 50s, they did.
Okay. What is this that I heard that a high school graduated and the high school graduates got like body shields?
What?
I don't know.
I have to Google that. I saw it on Facebook and I scrolled on past, but I was curious.
Was it a protest or?
It just said somebody, why is it that, our high school graduates are now getting like body shields when they graduate? And I'm like, what? You think they need it while they're in school, not out? Yeah, really, they won't give them condoms, but start with the basic protection first. Anyhow, it's do we have more commentary on either topic, the guns or
kids?
Kids, don't do it. Don't have them and
that's
don't
what I was
do
going
them.
to say.
Yeah.
Remember in the late 80s and 90s when there was that big push to try to censor, at least control the content and entertainment and games and music, and
yes,
the oppositions were clashing, and the big one was this doesn't have any influence on our society. You can just change the channel. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I think maybe 20 years later we need to have that discussion again.
Oh, absolutely, and we've had similar shows with that topic in the past. Just turn the channel off, turn the TV off completely. Yeah.
Read a book.
Read a book.
Read a fucking book.
Educate yourself.
But I mean, people don't. They're not willing to acknowledge that. And I've got parents showing up to school. You can smell the pot on them. It's very. You can smell the liquor on them. They're dressed like. I mean, I can't even describe to you. I mean, it's. There's no level of respect for anyone or themselves.
Well, beyond that, okay, sticking with both topics a little bit, educating people and the gun thing. I have a number of friends that are. I love them so much, and they're so very, very much anti-gun. And I would love to just take them to the range one day and educate them. But they don't want to learn anything about it.
No, because then they might be wrong. And that's, people are so afraid of being wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. I love it when I make an assumption about food, and then I taste it, and I was wrong, and I love it. Ah, it's fabulous.
Happy?
Yeah, I had something. What was it?
I can see it.
Can you read it? Because I can't. Just in general, yeah, educating yourself on anything, whether it's weapons or whatever, I'm willing to learn something new, especially if it's something I think I don't like. Then I want to know more about it to make sure I'm not being closed-minded or just an asshole. I want to know a little more about it. That way I can educatedly go, no, that's crap. It's kind of like judging the movie before watching the movie before you judge it. It goes with anything, whether it's a person, an activity, a lifestyle. Learn a little bit about it before you go, oh, well, this is wrong. Yeah, Ed.
I'd like to add to what I just said a little bit. I got a friend that's very, very anti-gun. Sorry.
Right.
And she posted something the other day, and I don't remember whether it was the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, because she's a pit bull lover, and she agrees that pit bulls are getting a bad rap. Mm-hmm. And she posted something the other day about whatever the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands pit bulls didn't do anything today but love their owners. And I wanted to come back and say, well, how about, and I don't know the exact number, but that number of AR-15 owners or assault weapon owners, okay? We didn't do anything but today but love our families.
How many guns stayed in the cabinet today or in their lockbox?
Right.
Or, wherever we end up putting them, out of the, 300 million guns in the U.S., how many didn't kill somebody wrongfully?
Weren't used to kill someone.
No, they could, for example, if somebody was shot in self-defense, if, a cop had to pull his weapon, don't count those either.
Mm-hmm.
It's how many were used wrongly today. And, yeah, it's, I don't know. And Kennedy says, okay, I was away. Then Elizabeth said she tasted it and loved it. Have to, I assume I missed a bit.
I'd like to say it was me, but
Across the state lines, you're going to have to get that registered.
We'll just leave it right. Just right.
So true.
Don't worry, we were still talking about weapons, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, if you know what I mean. But
no hair trigger here.
Yeah.
But pump.
You know what we forgot to do before everybody left?
Toast.
What's that? Toasting?
We forgot to do a toast at
They
the
should have
opening, and we
stayed.
forgot to say what was happening the rest of the week.
Oh.
Well, the rest of the week, tomorrow we got the pirate radio guy who got me started with the live for Talk of the Tavern Sound System. Tomorrow we have Lee of White Party Radio on. Wednesday we have Mo joining us to talk about dementia, and Thursday we have our friends here from Virginia, Richard and Angela Knowles, joining us just to talk about anywhere from strongman carnival acts to British culture.
What was Mo talking about now? I can't remember.
Dementia, their new graphic novel.
Their Kickstarter.
And let's see what John say here. The previous discussion tonight made me want to someday get everyone's input on a comic we're working on about a young lady who is cursed to go places and act upon other people's emotions, energy, to help that person, but also help herself. But that would have to be another day down the road. Bob, you like Scuffle Moss? He was fun, wasn't he? Stayed all 3 hours, too.
Scuffle Moss.
We might see him again. He was a pretty fair show, I have to say.
And on Wednesdays, he has story time. He read Little Bear this past Wednesday.
Yeah, that's something else, Bob. You
And
can
then
follow
played
him on YouTube.
metal music.
He did. Read kids' books and played metal
It
and
was
jammed
great.
out to it. Knows a lot of local bands.
It was
too.
great.
Well, I thought Bob and Dez would splash this cup tonight, but they
It
left
was
us
so
hanging.
close.
Yeah, they were so
Right, and
close.
it bounced right out, man.
You know, and if you look closely, you can see like some of the bits jumping and bouncing inside the cup.
Oh, man.
Troll wearing glasses. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
They have, I saw at the parade all these different booths. It was just unbelievable. They had there's a group, and they dress up in drag, and they go to the library and read to kids.
Oh, nice.
Is it? I'm not sure how to feel about that.
I'm with
Well,
you,
it
Elizabeth.
depends on.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Well, it depends on how they're approaching it, and how they're
I'm going to go and find out. Don't worry.
how they're dressed, because it might keep the kids' attention to read. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Are we looking at like drag queens, or are we looking at transgender people? You know, what are we
It
looking
just said drag queen story hour.
Oh.
And then it said, oh,
Drag
they
queen,
go to the
okay.
library and read to kids. And I'm like,
Do
okay.
you know with a number of the recent Pride parades this month, drag queens have been banned from participating?
Why?
Why?
Because they feel like they take away from the actual cause.
The validity.
I was like, I'm like, wait a minute. So the people that are accusing us of labeling are labeling?
Drag queens opened the door for this sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And I saw something today. Okay, the Supreme
It's
Court.
always something.
The Supreme Court. The can you not sell a wedding cake to somebody because it's a gay marriage? Is that legal? And the Supreme Court ruled, yeah, you can refuse to sell them a cake because it goes against your own beliefs.
Here's what I got to say about
No.
that.
It wasn't sell. It would be hired to specifically make and decorate a cake for them. And he was willing to sell them a cake, but he didn't want to specifically make the cake for their wedding because it went against his religion.
Okay, but here's what I got to say about that. Okay, because, and I probably said it on the show before. Sorry, but if I walk into an establishment and I get the feeling like you don't want me there because I'm black,
right?
I don't want to eat your food because you might shit in it, piss in it, cum in it, whatever, everything else in it. So be smart about it, people.
Don't take them to court to make your cake. Just don't have a cake.
I think Justice Kennedy said that. He said that tolerance was only one-sided. That the couple wasn't being tolerant of the baker's religious beliefs, and that this is one of the major cases for that. So
I remember.
And
okay, Ed.
No, go ahead, Travis.
This one time I was working in retail, and I was in my early 20s, and the black chick who worked with me was applying for another job across the way, and she's like, "Why is it optional to put your race?" And I'm like, "Well, that way if they're prejudiced, you still get the interview, they don't deny you because you're black." She's like, "Fuck that, I'm checking that I'm black, because if they don't want to hire me for that, I don't want to go in for an interview.
I don't want to work there, right?"
I'm like, "Can you tell me what you hate so I could tell you if I fit that, because I don't want to come over."
And of course, my brother Bob, he's feeling me right now. Yeah, I'm feeling that you're feeling me, Bob.
So their business is doing so well that they can refuse money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just seems like bad business to me. And I'm all for everyone's beliefs and things, but business should be business.
Well,
it's not like they're marrying them.
I think, oh gosh, I can get the shit kicked out of me for this one. How strong are your principles?
Yeah.
Mine?
Going to give in to your principles for money?
See, it's also the one thing. I'm a
True.
firm believer of being able to refuse service to anyone. If somebody comes in and is just a dick to me, I want to be able to go, no, we're done here. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Get out. Now, if somebody is that bothered because of somebody else's lifestyle, should they be able to say that? Yeah, well, I can't say no, they shouldn't be able to say that. Because we do still, in theory, have freedom of choice when it comes to running our own business, within reason.
Within reason.
So, yeah, I'm very mixed. But on the other hand, if it was my friends that came to me and went, they don't want to make us a custom cake because we're gay, but they'll just sell us a cake off the shelf, I'd be like, go somewhere else. Why give them your business?
I mean, I see both sides, but why can't we all just get along?
Yep, I'm with you on that one.
Because then people don't have the power or the money or the this or the that.
My first wife, she was in school. She went to school at Virginia Tech. So she lived in Southwest Virginia. I moved down there, lived with her, got her job, and so forth and so on. And she would want to go out to certain bars, restaurants, and so forth back in the early 80s when things were still... I would say, I don't want to go there. And she's like, well, you're with me. Why should it matter to anybody else? She was white, for anybody out there watching right now.
White privilege!
And yeah, I am black. Believe it or not, I am black. I know I don't always act that way, but I am black. And why should it matter to anybody else? I was like, it shouldn't, but it does. So I ain't taking my ass in there.
Why go looking for trouble?
See, and I get it. Just like take personal responsibility and don't put yourself in a situation where it can cause harm.
We have said that so many times.
Yeah, and I understand that. But then again, why can't we all just?
I agree. I agree. And there's other places where they don't care as long as your money's green. So, Bob says, "Today I went to a store and was made to wait at the register for a long time. I know it was because I am black." 0.04%.
So here we go. Here's another one just to stir up the pot. So I'm standing there watching the parade. Katha, you remember Katha? She was on the. She was one of the judges of the parade, and then it ended up running into Don. So it was delightful. There's people, all sorts, supporting equal rights, and it was fun. It was actually fun. It was very joyful. People were dancing. It was cool. Okay, so one group walked by, and they were the Young Socialists and they were for gay rights and healthcare. And I turned to my friend and I said, do they realize that, socialism is the transition into communism, and what's we're communists.
They don't
allow gays, right? And he said, apparently not.
they don't realize that.
Just,
So are you saying the UK is heading for communism?
I don't think so.
No, I think they're heading to Sharia law.
To where?
Sharia law.
Oh.
I think they've done themselves in.
It's interesting what you just said, because I had a friend that was on social media, and she was the social justice warrior for... Oh, God, I'm going to sound really bad when I say this.
At least the black man's doing it, not the white dude.
Damn. But she was a social justice warrior for Islam.
Okay.
And she pretty much blamed the West for all the troubles in Islam. Now, she's a lesbian.
Okay.
And I remember getting in a conversation with her one day saying, okay.
I'm curious, white or black?
She was white.
Okay.
And we were chatting back and forth one day, and I said, here's what I want you to do. Is there a mosque in the town that you live in? And she's like, yes. Okay. And I told her, I said, I want you to go into... And she was the typical, the hippie skirt, unshaven legs, tank top, unshaven armpits, blah, 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 blah. I want you to walk up in your local mosque one day and tell them you want to talk about women's equal rights from the perspective of a lesbian. See how far that goes. She was pissed off at me for a very long time after that.
So did she go?
No, hell no.
She would have been more pissed off if she did go. People.
You know, we're going to have to do a show about the kneeling during the national anthem because the NFL changed that.
I've left it alone on purpose.
I have too.
You've been what? I didn't hear you.
I don't know. Was it?
We've left it alone on purpose.
Oh, really? Okay.
Here's my point of view on that. Okay, I work at Target. Target tells me I have to come to work every day in my khaki pants and my Jake from State Farm shirt. And I say, I'm an American citizen. I'm going to exercise my Second Amendment right, and I'm going to wear my gun to work. And Target says, fuck no. While you're wearing your red Jake from State Farm shirt, you ain't wearing no gun. I don't care if you're just on your way to and for work. You're representing Target. The moment you put that shirt on, you are not going to wear a gun. What is the fucking difference?
That the owners won't join and be united, and that, you know, they won't all say together that it's wrong and take a stand. There's someone of the Jets owners.
Policy.
Yeah, because you know the NFL now has said everyone has to stand or you don't come out. You stay in the locker room, which is pussy, which is bullshit. You either stay or you go. You know what? Now the Jets say that anybody who gets fined, he'll pay the fines and get covered, and he'll cover the team.
Okay, fine them then. Fine the fuck out of them.
That's what I said. It was a moment created not for them. It was a moment created for people who have died. And we can't even respect that now.
It wasn't created for people who died. That's bullshit.
Well, it wasn't created for people that died.
It was created for the military and for a moment during World War I that we remember what they were doing for us.
I mean, there's times it definitely applied to the people that died. But it was created out of nationalism.
Yeah, and that's what it was created out of.
Nationalism is a sickness.
Well, no, nationalism isn't a sickness. Not when it was created back in 1812, okay? But the bottom line is your employer says you're going to stand for the national anthem, well, you're going to be fined. You stand for the national anthem, you're going to be fined. It's just like Target saying you can't wear your fucking gun to work or whenever you're wearing your Jake from State Farm shirt or else you're going to be fired. It's the same damn thing.
Here's the thing. If you don't like the rules of the company, get a different job.
Leave. That's it. That's the bottom line. Stop getting paid those millions of fucking dollars and go to work for Target and where you're.
Yeah, like when I didn't agree with a lot of the things from my job, I left and got a different one.
And again, maybe they could also fire the guys that, get brought up on charges for drug possession too.
Oh, absolutely. And
if that's their company policy, absolutely.
By the way, Skipper says, I fired a kid on his 4th day because he wasn't doing the job, so he claimed to fired him because he was black. I pointed out that he was black when I hired him 7 days earlier. Dumb.
I love that.
Wow.
I love that. You didn't change.
Shit, you were white 7 days ago. What the fuck? Yeah. You could shoot hoops or dance. Now you can. Is that racist? Bob? Let me know.
I'm sure you will let us know.
Yeah.
I'm tired and hungry. I'm going to go.
You can go.
I think the conversation has tapered out anyway. We should do a close and toast here.
Did we do an?
No, we didn't. Should we do 2 now?
Okay.
Here's the discussions.
Here.
Okay, let me do some closing music. Oh, let me see if we got anybody to rate at the middle of the damn night.
But I say it once again, as I say to the children, it's not always about you.
No. It almost
Sometimes
never is.
it's about much more. And there's a pussy on your lap.
It is.
Squirrel.
Which is that? Squirrel.
You guys have a great night. We're gonna go
Hey,
raid
there's
a
a
little.
pussy on my lap.
Who you raid?
We're gonna raid Welsh Skipper. So, okay, you know what? Kennedy. Kennedy says, I know I mentioned my buddy whose name is Spanish Chinese. Basically, it's like Wong.
Singular sensation. Every little step you take.
I like that movie.
Every movement.
Shenanigans tonight.
You keep singing,
You're the
Elizabeth.
one thing
Sing
that
right
makes
over
the
it.
show what
All
it
good.
is. Don't forget
Don't
to
stop.
join us at the tavern next week. Until then,
Don't tell me what to do.
keep learning.
All right,
Now, raise your glass in good cheer. Enjoy the small moments every day and steamy dreams every night.